Hello, I'm Eagle, Eagle Gardens 1 on Instagram, and this is fucking talking shit with Eagle, episode 578. Hopefully, you guys have had a great night. I've got a good guest for us tonight, Mr. 12 and 12. How you doing, my friend? You want to tell us how you're doing and where they can find you?
Hey, how's it going, Eagle? My name is Mr12n12. I'm all over the place, but for the most part, Instagram. I'm on the Discord a little bit, and we're playing with some of the cool new things. I just downloaded one that's like a marijuana only Instagram. Has anybody heard about this? It's a third party download, but I don't know. Yeah, I'll be there too. Mr12n12 is my at Mr12n12 is my Instagram, and that's pretty much where you're gonna find me the most of. And I guess we can start with why I paid a really good friend of mine who is a good marketer or design guy, and he made me some Mr. 12 and 12 stickers. And the only thing that's on there is 12 and 12 collective, and then my at Mr. 12 and 12, because I think it's the most important tool right now in my life for moving me forward to what I want. And man, that platform's cool. I think any platform that you can shine and show yourself is cool if you can get a good expression. I don't know. I think people that are really passionate about what they do kind of stand out, and you can see that in a lot of stuff. But yeah, we're pushing hard on Instagram, man. I love it. I'm here. I'm talking to you because of Instagram. And most of the people that I know in the grow community, I met through Instagram. And I was talking with a friend a few days ago about this. I'm a lightweight inventor, I guess. I'm a free thinker in a lot of ways. I think about random weird shit, and I love cool ideas. So I'm driving in the car thinking about how to promote random acts of kindness or just kindness in general, right? Like, how could you promote that? And I was thinking, I had this idea of so it's fun. This is how it spawned, right? So there was a radio talk show host talking about how now you can view your ranking scores on Uber. So the Uber driver, now you can see what the Uber drivers finally think of you as the rider. So the whole thing they're talking about, what do people really think about you or whatever, right? And I don't remember where I'm going. Oh, so then so I'm thinking about what do people think, right? So then what if you had and it gets a little weird, and I don't want to do social ranking and shit like that. But what if every time you did something good, you were honored for it? But then now you got to get a treat for every time you do something good. It just doesn't work out. All I really want to do is promote more acts of random kindness. I think a lot of what I do, and I love the marijuana world because it allows me to do what I really truly love to do, I think. And what I love to do is give in a lot of ways. But I think a lot of that stemmed from what I learned in AA, right? So I'm an ex-addict, 5-year, my whole life, pretty much I struggled with drugs and addiction. And marijuana, really balanced me out through all that. Now, July 24th, 2019 is my sober date. I've been sober from everything except for marijuana since then. And I really think growing the marijuana, more so than smoking it, has impacted me in the way that it's changed me. So I have a point, and I'm trying to get to it. It's that mentality, right? It's the giving. So I went to AA for a while, and I learned that valuable gift that you get is to share it with others, right? Sharing with others, and that high that you get from helping other addicts when you have the gift. And so, but there was the small problem that I found with AA is the absence of all substance, right? So you got to have a clear head the whole time. I can get behind that, and I was able to do it for a good amount of time, but I find more so than anything, the medicine, it's a medicine, right? So I use it for my medicine, and I'm able. And so my angle now is this: there's a lot of people out there that are like me that don't want to be sober. I mean, I never wanted to be sober, but marijuana is the sobering aspect that I get. When I smoke weed, I don't think about anything else. I don't. If I feel like I want to do other drugs, I smoke weed, and it makes me a little paranoid. Where I'm like, what was I thinking? I'm not even going to go do that. That was dumb. So I get the free gift of sobriety essentially, but I get it through marijuana. And so I'm trying to work that program of helping others to see that it's not just really smoking weed. The smoking weed is great, but it's the nurturing, the caring for the plant. And I think there's a lot of us, and I'm sure Eagle, you share the same thing. You are not probably never even addict, but that love for the plant, it unites us all. I met my partner that we grew with in Michigan on Instagram. I was just, I'm very open, I'm very free, and I talk very openly about my garden, about growing and my problems. We'll get to it a little bit later. I got PM and root aphids right now, so we'll get to it, but I'm open about it, and in a sense, real recognize real, I guess. And so I met my partner on Instagram. He's a Michigan caregiver, and we were able to establish a good connection and a teamwork. But that came through Instagram, and we were talking, and he's originally from the south side of Chicago, and I'm from the Midwest, the suburbs of Chicago. But we're talking, and we're like, there's no way me and you would ever be in the same room together. I mean, it's true. We're from different walks of life. And without knowing you ever, and without you knowing me ever, here I am in your giant, massive grow, and we're talking like we're best friends because we share this love for the plant. And it's like, when you meet other people, like, you don't know me, and I know you. What are we on? Your 500th episode, and it's like, you know what I mean? This is so cool. Like, there's no question. The connection and the love for the weed, it's just like, there's no, everything else kind of just like, okay, and then there's this. I don't know. I know you feel it. When you feel it and you have it, that community and the love, it's awesome, man. It's really cool.
I'm liking this already, my friend. I'm liking this already. This is my first time meeting or conversating with you, and we've already connected in a few ways, and that's the one random acts of kindness there. I feel that very much the same way about the cultivation of the plant there. So yeah, hell yeah.
And I think that's why DP had said that. He's like, I got to get you on the ego, because he thinks, there's a like-mindedness. And I think DP shares that like-mindedness as well. And it's just so cool. And I was watching a little bit of one of your podcasts. You had talked about the mentality, and this is so huge. And I've been trying to spread this, but let me take this down really fast and we'll get to it. This is some Sunday Driver from Exorcist on Instagram. He's one of my mentors. He's teaching me how to get very good at making BHO extraction.
Why you hit that? The third thing you were talking about was the community, basically. Walks of life, different walks of life. That's one of the one things I've always loved about cannabis. You can see that especially at the events. But when you get in deeper, kind of like what we're doing here, it really kind of pays off, because you, like you said, you could bond through the plant. But like, when you have a community like that, when you have a problem, there's such a vast, range of knowledge in the community that, somebody has some advice for you. You know what I mean? Yes. It's lawyers all the way down to people building houses, whatever the scale it is.
Yes, that's what I wanted to get on. So there's two things that I want to touch on before I get it, though. And it's talking about that same thing. The first one was, you had mentioned the essence or the aura that came from Clubhouse. When Clubhouse first came out, that energy and that, oh my God, it gives me chills to really think about it. I met, because there was that limited time when everyone wasn't allowed and you had to get the invite in, and we kind of all felt really cool and exclusive. And I met a couple of people in that time frame that I would, without a doubt, have changed my life. I can honestly say they've changed my life. And that power there is so freaking cool. You had Kevin Jordy on, and he talked about people meeting and smoking weed, but it's the thought. It's so we all get together to smoke weed and we get high, but it's the people's minds that are in that room thinking while they're smoking that matters. We all kind of have that mentality, and a lot of us came from the illegal side, maybe from the original. We're like, we're kind of like independent small business fucking world entities here, you know what I mean? And we kind of share that a lot alike, and we're seeing more of that community grow with the legalization, and I love that, because there was a time when I started, even in early 2014, 15, when I learned from a third generation grower, and to hear the stories that they talk about growing in the Trinity Alps and have to hike 9-10 miles with a 100-pound backpack full of weed to get it back to your house because you're growing in the like real backyard guerrilla growing shit, man. To me and you being able to talk about it. I mean, like I said, I had a close call today, and we'll just brush past it. But because of the way the world is now, it's not looked at as a crime as much as it used to be. And thank God for that. Thank God for that, because there's so many people that need the fucking medicine. And I hate, listen, if there's anything in the world I hate more than anything, it's somebody who's fake woke, right? I hate that whole fake woke thing. And I feel like I kind of play the line of corny, because I am so adamant about just like, I'm corny. I'm freaking corny about it, because when you're so consumed and loved by something, you can't help but be corny. It's like I'm talking with my baby. You know what I mean? I can't help but talk, but baby talk with them. I know it's stupid and it's dumb, but I'm so in love that it's just like, I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? I'm corny about talking about weed. And I love that. I freaking love it.
I like to see the passion behind it all. It's refreshing.
Well, it's just so. It's one of the only things. So I've been a carpenter. I was a carpenter my whole life, and we'll just keep going on this whole thing. This is one of those things where the more passion and the more you give in, the more that you get back. And man, I've been waiting for something like that. I wish the harder I worked at carpentry, the more I got paid or the more I got back. It don't work like that. You just work your ass off, and then you're fucking 65 years old, and that's it. If you work your ass at not just being a weed grower, but giving your heart to what is building this fucking weed revolution, there's no fucking end to what's going to happen. And that's the wave I'm riding. That's the wave I'm riding.
I dig it. So where did it all start? Where did this passion all start? When was the first time that you come across the plant, or you tried it for the first time?
All right. So what sticks out to me is what united the passion for me is probably the first time I saw an outdoor field of marijuana in Northern California. I mean, I've been smoking weed my whole life, and I knew as soon as I smoked, the first time I ever smoked, me and my best friend ditched first day of 6th grade. We were supposed to get on the bus, and we ditched it. He's like, we're going to my buddy's house. I got something else planned. And we smoked weed for I was 12 years old. And I freaking loved it, but I didn't know, we were just getting high. It was Mexican brickweed out of a little pipe, and we coughed our ass off. And they say, you don't get high with the first time you smoke. And I got high as shit and watched a Pantera tape. I'm 35. And this was a Pantera tape, like backstage tape. And they're like eating ice cream and doing all that. It was really weird, but I was super baked and just like, I just remember that. So there I am getting high, and we got high our whole life, and I think I probably started selling it in high school. Okay, so yeah, so I remember selling it, and I had a good friend who was selling it, and then I graduated high school a year early. I graduated when I was 17 because I didn't take any study halls, and then the choir teacher lived down the street from me. Super cool dude. And I took choir 3 years because my parents figured, so the first 2 years I took it, And then my parents said, figured if I was in choir, I'd meet good kids and have good friends. And so they paid me to take choir. And the choir teacher was so cool, he gave me A's and I wouldn't even go to class. So because of those A's, I was able to graduate high school a year early. I was a terrible student, straight D's. I graduated a year early and I started going to college right away. COD, I'm taking business class. And the business teacher goes, you need to find a market where you don't need to sell the product, the customers come to you. But they spoke it in a more, business scientific way. And as the teacher's saying that, I got my Nextel beeping, chirp, chirp, and it's chirping in my pocket and I'm blowing up. I got like 17, 18 people trying to buy weed from me. And I'm thinking, there's my business, I'm done. And I swear I was one semester in and I quit, I dropped out and I started selling weed and I'm selling with my buddy, we did it. And then I moved to Arizona. I'm in Chicago. I moved to Arizona and I'm moving bud out there. And two of my buddies go to LA and they get in with MedMan and they're like, we want to build a dispensary. And so I was like, fuck that. I'm a carpenter, dude. I'm coming out to build it. So I helped them build out there. I worked with the two owners of MedMan, Andrew, and I can't remember the other guy. He's the biggest one, the head guy. He's a dick. They're both dicks, but Andrew's pretty cool. I went with them and I built 8 dispensaries. And then when I was done building it, I was like, I'm not leaving. They're like, well, I'm like, yeah, I'm not leaving. I'm like, I'm riding this with you guys. So it was me and two of my buddies from high school. And we had a dispensary on Western Exposition in South Central LA. I built it. It was called Herb Man 40. We had a $40 cap on all our 8s. And it was awesome. We were living the life. Now, I was in South Central LA, which is the home of the race riots. And even in the middle of the day, these guys would say, don't go out in the street. If you're white, don't go out there. But we're from Chicago. I mean, we thought we were okay. I mean, I've been in the city. I've been around the ghetto. It's not a big deal. But this was different. We weren't from there. But it just, no matter what you told me, we were still living the dream. And that same thing will go back into play, right? So here's 3 white boys from Chicago, have no place at all in South Central LA. And I have a line of 12, 15 black people every day. They're my regular customers and we're best friends. There's no question about it. There's no barrier. There's never any problems. I got 3 security guards there. They're armed, but we never had any problems with anybody. Everyone loved us and we loved everybody. It was like a community right there in the middle because we were the first dispensary in their neighborhood kind of thing. And it was in a time when dispensaries were jumping up. I believe at the time we had ours, the statistic was there was more dispensaries in LA than there was Starbucks. And that was something special because you know how many fucking Starbucks there are. So anyway, we have our dispensary. We're getting our regular clientele basis. We did really well. And we established a really solid basis to the point where they wanted to buy us out. So we had a couple of people buy us out. And I took what little bit that I got. I didn't get much, but I didn't care. I was there for the knowledge. I was there for everything. And I was like, I want to learn how to grow. So I wouldn't even call anything prior to this. I wouldn't even call that my passion for growing. I wouldn't even call that my passion, like my love for the weed. I just know weed at that point. I mean, you know what I mean? Until then, and now keep in mind, I'm in a dispensary. We're seeing some of LA's best weed. We had this guy from he was a surfer dude, and he would bring in this LA Confidential, and I remember it to this day. That LA Con, he grew it straight, I don't know, 13, 14 years, this one strain, and they just diamond chunk, just silver gray from the frost, diamond buds, rock hard, amazing buds. And so, but I wouldn't call me the love or the passion now. I mean, I saw it every day. It was cool, but it wasn't. So I go, I want to learn how to grow. And so they're like, okay, we'll let you go up to one of the farmers, one of the guys that gives us most of our weed. A lot of our weed, will let you go up to his farm. So I get to go up to the Smith family farm, Bayless Smith. He's a 3rd generation grower. His father is Bayless. His grandfather's name is Bayless. And they're 3rd generation mountain growers. And I fell in with them and he took me up. I met him onto the farm and there's no service. And we're up in like CV, they called it, Clear Valley. CV or something. It's right. It's a little bit more north than Reading, but it's a little tiny little shack town. Anyway, so I'm up there. I meet him, and there I am. That's that. I would say that moment is when I fell in love. I look out, and they're probably about 5 feet, 5.5 feet tall, but they're about 5.5 feet wide. And there's 99 of them, and they're all sour diesel. And I jaw dropped right there. Never have I seen them growing like that before. You know, I've spent this whole time never even seen growing weed. So drop my jaw. And this is a pretty good story. So he tells me, all right, this is what I want you to do. I want you to cut him. I want you to throw him in the back of the truck. I got to go because his girl was pregnant and he had to leave and he had a lot of stuff to deal with. So he gives me the keys and goes, I want you to cut these things down and throw them in the tarp and then throw them in the back of the truck and then, you know, meet me at the house. I was saying, give the address, just throw it in the GPS. I got to go. So I'm like, fuck, all right, here we go. This is the first time I ever been in a field. I got all these fucking weed plants. I got a pair of scissors in the truck. My GPS barely works. I just met this man. We shook hands and he's telling me to start chopping. Like, all right, fuck, yes, of course I will do that. So I don't know. And I'm sure this is why I'll tell you, this is part of the reason why I tell you that this is like when I fell into that trance or that love. I don't know how long I worked in that field for. I couldn't tell you. But when I was done, I had all 99 of them chopped and in fucking tarps, like 20 by 10 tarps stacked up in the back of this truck all the way up. It was a long bed. It was the 8-foot long bed. But I swear to God, I fucking fit 99 in there, packed up. And I'm driving down the road and I'm trying to figure out in the GPS and the thing keeps cutting out. I never been to this guy's house even. And I got all this weed in the back of the truck. And it stinks like fucking sour diesel. And I pull up to a 4-way intersection and I look over and there's a cop parked at the kitty corner of the stop sign. And I'm like, what the fuck am I in slow motion? And I'm thinking, this is it. My life's over. I just got out here. I've been here for a day and I'm going to go to prison right now. And I look over and the cop looks at me and he looks over, he looks in the back of the truck and then he just shakes his head like this, just like that. And I'm like, oh my God. So I drive straight and I turn right and I'm able to get him on the phone and I call him. I said, dude, where are you? I got to get you this pot right now. And so he tells me where it is and he gets back there and he goes, all right, hang it or whatever. So I get done and I go, what's next? And he goes, what do you mean, what's next? He goes, what do you mean? I go, I'm done. I did it. And he goes, you took down that whole field? He goes, I've had 2 guys out there for 2 weeks and they haven't done anything. They take down like 3 plants. What do you mean? I'm like, dude, I came out here to work, man. What do you want? I'm here to work. He's like, all right, cool. So we went on to become really good friends. Me and BE became really, really good friends. I worked for him and I helped him that year because he had his baby and so he needed a lot of help and I was just fit in at that time. So he taught me how to grow really. And I think he was a 3rd generation grower and I saw the lifestyle and what he lived. It's such a different world up there, man. Holy shit. In Reading, even in 2015, 16, I mean, his father pulled him out of school when he was 17 years old. Hey, you're going to grow pot now. That's it. You're done. So he went out and grew pot and that's all he did. But I always think about that story. Like his dad pulled him out of pot, to go grow pot and minus my dad pulling me out. It's essentially what I fucking did. You know what I mean? I dropped out of college and went to go sell pot. I mean, I didn't know that this was what I wanted to do the whole rest of my life, but like this is the first time I ever thought about it. I mean, we were technically the same age, really, when we decided that was what it was going to be. Now, I don't think he had a say in it. I did. But the way BE knew how to read a plant, I don't even know why I ever strayed from that kind of philosophy. He was growing since he was a boy, so he could look at a plant and tell you exactly what it was. But another thing that I'm weary of that I think is very prevalent, especially in the old North, is like redundancy or complacent, right? So that's the downfall. That in this industry, I truly believe that can be your downfall. Is number one, you have a couple good rips and you get the ego, right? And now nobody can tell you nothing. And I think that can be a big downfall. But then thinking that you know everything or that you've got it down and that there's no better tech out there. I think it'll happen, you know, to people. I hope it never happens to me. And I learned that from them because they were stuck on the same program and it worked. I mean, and there's something to be said about that, right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I think that they were lacking a lot of true potential because they never advanced. They didn't care to. So I don't know, you know, you take that and leave it, but I find a lot of joy and like contentment, I guess, in the process, you know, in learning why my AC won't work when it's -5 degrees. I mean, I get there's a P8 code, but why? Right? And so the answer that I found out, right? So the answer is Freon needs to be hot in order to make something cold. So if the Freon outside is freezing cold, it can't chemically process and make your room cold. Okay, so there's the acting theory, but then you got people saying, well, the air in the room is hot. So isn't that making, well, you know, so you got to go a little bit deeper. And this plays into another reason why I think I've had success. Maybe it's a little bit harder to do is what I talk about now is like misinformation or like conflicting information. You'll go crazy. You go crazy over conflict. And this is one of the major reasons I stay off of Facebook. You'll go crazy with conflicting information. You know, I mean, sometimes there's just two right answers. and so one of the reasons I think I've been successful and not pulled my hair out, because I am kind of like have to get to the real truth answer bottom kind of person, is we developed a little group with me and a couple of my buddies when we first started, and we just have a small little WhatsApp group, and there's 4 of us in there. We all started about the same time. I'm kind of like the pioneer, so I'll try everything first, but we talk and share information very closely. But we have a mentor. We have a California medical consultant, and I don't know, one of my good friends was able to loop him in to answering all of our questions and being our mentor. But the benefit that I get from that is he's our end all be all, right? So if somebody says this and you say this and we don't know which way to go, we just ask Nate, and Nate says this, we stick with that. And I think it saved me a lot of time and a lot of just pulling my hair out and deep dives into forums, you know, in the middle of the night, which God knows I've done that anyway. But, you know, when you have a mentor that tells you, I don't know, I think it makes it better. It's easier. So there's my passion. I'm growing weed there. I went on to really just try to figure out how I could make this my life, you know, the best I could. And I figured out a couple of things. The one thing I figured out is I couldn't really be a drug addict and grow weed. I could barely be a drug addict, grow weed, and work like a 40-hour-a-week job. You know, I could barely make it like that. And that's a miserable life. So I've kind of always been trying to give myself out there and then get, you know, and man, does it work. If you're sober and you're true about it and you give yourself out there, I really think you can kind of like wish your destiny into fruition. And there's another story that's kind of just, it's like in that aspect, right? There was Masonic the breeder and Soul Rebel. They're 2 small-time breeders. They're 2 real cool guys. Now Mason's gone on to be a pretty big deal, but at the time they were about same as far as credibility on the internet. And they had a small beef, a small feud where they were talk shit about the other one not being testing and this and that. It was, you know, whatever. It was entertaining. It was drama and it was entertaining, whatever. So this is one of the examples. I'm bullshitting with my friend and I'm saying, I want to grow those 2 next to each other. They're enemies or whatever. They're, you know, they're beef and breeders. I want to grow this next to them. 2 days later, I answer some poll for Soul Rebel, and he fires me off some beans. Like 2 days after that, I'm meeting up with my buddy. He needed some help, and I helped him with something. He goes, check this out. I just got back from LA. He's got 60 packs of all mace beans. We're sitting right there. So he's here, bam, fires me a pack. Within 5 days of saying it, I'm not bullshitting you, I got mace and fucking Soul Rebel pop right next to each other. Didn't pay for either one of them, and they're both growing right next to each other. Comparison. It's like I thought that into fruition. I wanted it to happen, and it happened, and it's just it's crazy, man. I swear that it doesn't seem like that's that big of a deal, but that's a fucking huge deal to me. That's crazy.
Well, you turn down the right alley when it comes down to that type of stuff there. I'm a firm believer in if I could say it, manifestation. There we go. Being able to put things into place by your thoughts alone, for sure. I think part of that is having creativity or imagination, just like anything else. I think you have to see it. You're a carpenter, so as am I. And you know just as well as I do, you have to have somewhat of a plan or end goal before you get started. You just can't go fucking ordering material and fucking you know what I mean? And so it has to be fucking in writing, built out. You have to seen it. Somebody's had seen it in their mind. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
To put it all into play. Absolutely. And like you said, once you put it out there, it's kind of like putting that starting that vibration, setting it all into motion and letting it grow like a wave, kind of. Yeah, firm believer in that shit. Firm believer. I think where most people go wrong these days, brother, is a lot of people lack the excitement and the imagination. I think at some point people just kind of grow up and they don't want to see things. They're too busy being told what to do at work, do this, do that. They lose sight of their dreams. They lose sight of their imagination. They're just too busy, to be honest with you.
I feel that so much, and I feel that's another thing that a marijuana allows me to do. It allows me to be a kid more than anything. It's like not a kid, but like I'm not a slave. It's like I'm really not a slave to society. I make my schedule and I do. And marijuana has been able to do that. But what you're saying is that's a muscle, right? So that wishing stuff into fruition, or like you said, like carpentry, you get better at it with experience, right? So I can see things in my head now as I build it, that because I saw it once, and so but I have the experience where I saw something relative. But that was that muscle. And I think you can build and get that power. You can grow it and make it stronger. And yet, like you said, people lose their creativity. They lose their, what I think it's potential. There's potential in everything. And people see, I see, that's what I see it. So like, I just see the potential in everything. And it's like, people don't see that, or like they call me a dreamer. Well, you're a dreamer. No, I see the potential. Don't you understand? And more so than that is marijuana allows you to go to places that the community, like I said, I'm reading signs in my freaking hometown that say, come to Michigan, right? And I'm taking pictures and I'm posting it on my thing and I'm saying, Michigan's calling me, Michigan. And I'm telling my girl, baby, we're going to be growing in Michigan. We're going to be growing in Michigan. And then this man says, please come out to me and show me how to run my 50 light grow with automation. Dude, I mean, I'm sorry, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen where I can just say, I'm going to make this happen. And I want it so badly because realistically in a business world, right? Like I couldn't do that. Maybe now with the internet, right? If I was like a coder or something, I could do like some freelance coding for somebody. Or like maybe I end up in an office in Michigan or something, but not at the caliber of what just happened. So it's like because because it does happen to me in my life, I know that it's possible. So it's easier for me to see it. So it's like my girl never, I got out, I got locked up, and that was part of my sobriety. So that was 3 years ago. So that's why I quit smoking. So I did some time, I got out and I said, babe, I got this plan. I'm going to grow pot and that's going to set us free. You know, she's like, yeah, right. You're fucking, you know what I mean? Because I've been there before. I know it's possible, but so it's easier for me to dream. You know what I mean? It's like working out. If you work out for a while, then you stop, you got the muscle memory still. So it's like, you know, you can get back there.
Right on. Hell yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead, please.
So then like what I was saying is like with that comes, I mean, it's not like, so my grow was 5 hours away. That Michigan thing was in Saginaw, Michigan. So it's 5 hours away one way. But I would spend those 5 hours listening to podcasts and doing my research, and the time went by like it wasn't happening. When else could you spend 5 hours in a car and get out and then go work for 5 or 6 hours and not think that people, and not be like, I'm a slave and this is terrible. I did it all with a smile on my face, and I do it for another 10 hours. I can't do that with anything else. And I'm screaming it from the rooftops, like I hand out bud at intersections to homeless people that try to beg for change. And sometimes I give them money, but usually I give them bud. And I look them in the eye and I say, this weed set me free. I was you, but I want to scream it from the rooftops. It's like, it can set you free.
Yeah, I'm very passionate about this plan as well. As far as the manifestation thing, I'm so sold on it. I'm almost think it's a glitch, to be honest with you. Like I figured out a glitch.
But it's like it's so elusive or like hard to pin down, right? Like if you try to use it in a monetary gain or anything else, but it's pure essence, you fail. And once you realize that you're not in control of it, you're just kind of riding with it, you know? Once you realize that, then it'll really fucking set you free. Then it'll really do some cool shit. But it's only when you think you can pin it down or that you can harness it and, you know what I mean? Like use it for your own, that no. It'll teach you real quick.
I dig it. So have you carried on with organics? Is that the way you grow today?
Okay, so I don't. Right now I am running Athena. I love organic, and I just feel like I want to go back outside. Outside stuff is so much easier for me to run the soil that way. And I'm in a state of right now I'm in a state of trying to understand how to push the plant. And I feel like it's so much easier done with salts. It's so much easier for me to control my inputs generally by pushing salts. And I want to get to like full organic. I've ran it outside. I did it for a long time. It's how I was raised. And I used to I had my recipe and I'd mix super hot soil, so hot that we'd have to water it for a month before we could plant in it. And if someone would spill onto the grass and I'd wake up and my grass would be smoking because it was so hot from the spills. I don't even remember what it was in there, but I ran it organic. I loved it outside, but man, I'm hooked on the Athena run right now. And the plants are showing me. I mean, it's the first time we've ever grown with EC. So obviously we're still balancing pH. We run the 5.5 pH. I'm pushing a 3.0 EC in for a 5.0 EC out. And it goes as high as 5.5, 5.8 out. And we want to try to they're talking about pushing it, stacking it even harder. And I'm a big fan of this, and I believe this is true. We found Mobile J. I don't know if you're familiar with Mobile J, but when I find somebody that I like, I kind of just, I get weird and I'll just be like, all right, so like I study him. I mean, the man is very, very good, you know? So I don't know why I went off onto Mobile J, but yeah, I lost my train of thought there. What was it? What were we talking about?
You squirreled me with you being squirreled there. We were talking about you growing in salts, and you actually
Right.
kind of love for
Oh,
the organics, but you
that's
found
right.
the
That's
value
right.
in the
Right. Right. So,
salts.
so we're pushing the, so what he had said was this, this is gold for me, is the first 16 days of flour make or break your whole ground. First 16. And I think that I love that. And we're also playing with like a little bit more stretch and just pump it. First 16 days, hard, hard, hard. Like I want to go 4 or even like 4 or 5 if they'll let me, you know, and then taper them back down and balance them out. I like 1500 with the LEDs. We like 1500 CO2, like 1150 ppfd if I can get it, you know, and like micro feedings, but I've screwed up. And you know, I'm always testing stuff, and I thought, because we started by making my own manifold, so I made this really cool, like I found it from this random YouTube video. It was a manifold that was hooked up to a Mondi pump with a bunch of 1/4 inch shutoffs. Each line had a 1/4 inch shutoff, and it was very extreme. But I didn't know anything about drippers, so we had that first. And then we went to the 0.5 drippers, and then for some reason I went to the 2.3 gallon drippers, and those are a nightmare, and I don't recommend them. They just they don't let the pot soak; they just run straight down because it's too fast of a drip. So you actually want a slower drip. So we're playing with that and trying to get that in, and we got PM. This is the first time. I mean, I know how to prevent it. I've been preventing it my whole life. I'm a big fan of below 50% humidity with lights off. It's just I got 550 pint dehumes in there, man. It's not cutting it. And then next rip, I'm gonna buy the Quest. I just don't have it. So it's a situation. I'm picking leaves every time I'm in there. It's slowly getting ready. I got like a couple days left. It's not gonna ruin anything. I'll pull it, but it's scary to see it slipping, and I don't like the PM. So we're gonna have to bump up that. When I first started growing the indoor thing, when we got the mentor, he asked me, you know, what do you want to do? Do you want to just take orders, or do you want to learn how to grow pot? And I said, I want to learn how to grow pot. And so then he told me about the troll mat. He told me about what VPD was. I didn't even know what VPD was. And what's crazy, this is crazy, because I got a buddy that was in Santa Rosa growing. He's from Chicago. And I consider Santa Rosa to be indoor Mecca. Like you can't get any better than that. That's heaven. He lived there for 5 years growing sour diesel only in Santa Rosa, Mecca, getting his cuts from different people. But he went to horticulture's college. The man went to college for horticulture, okay? And he's growing pot, and he doesn't know what VPD is. I told him what VPD was. And I didn't know what VPD was. I grew for so long, didn't know. So it's like, my mentor's like, track VPD, start doing the VPD thing. And so we got the Trollmaster essentially to track VPD, but it changed the game, and I won't grow pot ever again without Trollmaster. If you don't have a Trollmaster hanging in your room, I recommend it. I mean, it's the God's gift of growing. It's changed the way I think I even grow. It's my buddy, and I use it for everything, and I couldn't grow without it. It saves my grow. I post about it all the time. It saves my grow all the time. Light or something going off, anything.
Right on. So, Mike, to understand that, so when you got back into growing, you first dipped your feet right back into a more large scale grow like that.
Yeah, so I mean, I got out, and we started with 10, and I was just like, well, that's good. Let's go, you know, and it just kind of crept up to where we're at. Like I'm sure
It happens.
Everyone does, you know what I mean? I mean, I've done it in almost every house that we've been in, where it's just, I got to have a little bit more, you know, got to have a little bit more. So the end goal, right? So I'm also, it's cool. You know, like I said, I'm a carpenter, and so we're remodeling. I'm remodeling the house I'm living in. I don't know, you can see some of it in the back. We just did 6 recessed cans in here that are so sweet. Anytime you do can lights, it makes the house awesome. So the goal is to get back to Michigan, right? So when we get done with this one, I'm gonna go. I got to get back out. I just worry. I want to get my plan. I want to get to grow. And really, I love their caregiver program. I mean, that's another big asset. You know what I mean? I want to be a caregiver. My buddy's doing it. I love that aspect, and I want a steel structure. You know what I mean? I want to do my steel structure thing. I want the 30 by 50. So we're coming for it. And it's something, you know, I'm gonna wish it. Watch. We'll talk. Let's give it a year. What day is it? Well, have me on in a year, and I'll have my steel structure. I'll wish it into fruition in a year. February 17th. So these are good dates, right? So 2 days from now, I'll harvest the Gary Payton. We'll remember that date. It's in the calendar. And then my birthday is the end of the month, the 28th. So give me till my birthday next year. I'll have a steel structure. Or if I don't have the structure, I'll have the plans and the foundation will be poured. Right? It might not be up, but I'll have the foundation poured and I'll have the plot. You have me back on and we'll talk about it. I'm confident.
I believe you will, my friend. I believe you will. So
it's cool. It's cool.
It's I think cannabis aids in another way like that. A lot of times, as we're talking about, the creativity part of it helps out, and you know, so when you're sitting there dreaming, putting that goal into fruition, like you just said, it's also kind of key to kind of like see it in your mind thoroughly, as like even to the point of sitting there with your joint, doing the walkthrough, seeing the lights being hung. It has to be that complete, to be honest with you.
Well, absolutely, and it's so much that way that when I started this thing, I made sure everything we do is scalable for that point. I want everything that we do to be scalable because I am in my head. I'm in that facility already. And I'm walking up and down the aisles, but I'm checking things. You know what I mean? Like when you get past like a 250, 300 site, you can't use submersible pumps anymore. You got to go to the jet pump. You have to, because your lines are going to be running for so long that if the submersible pump is going to heat that, it's going to heat the liquid up too much. So the jet pump sits outside of the res. So it's got to be jet pump. You know what I mean? But yes, when you build it in your head, it really will come. I'm telling you, it's cool. It's like, and the creativity, right? So another thing that we learned is pivot, right? So I have my end goal and I'm going to get there, but the path that I get there is unknown. And so you can't get hung up on one thing along that way. And I think that's important. You have to be able to pivot. You have to. And that's key. And it's fun. It's fun because it's like the unknown. You know what I mean? I know the end goal. I do know it, but I don't know the path in which and what I'm going to get there. And you got to be open because you don't want to miss it.
I dig it. You're right on point with it. You're really on point with the law of attraction. Have you ever looked into it, or is this all on stage, to be honest with you? Because it's very on point. If you read the book, you would be like, holy shit, I'm like spot on with everything I'm serious. Have you ever looked into the law of attraction, the secret, any of that shit?
No, but I'll
quite a few books on it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm so the closest thing I think, well, I'm sure there's a lot of other stuff. So I'm real big into Dali. Salvador Dali is a really cool, big inspiration for me. Surrealism, you know, the art of so he was a dreamer, right? So he would paint his dreams and he would try to remember his dreams by waking up in the darkness. And like he was just a real weird, crazy guy. He was an activist as well, and he burned a bunch of his paintings and stuff. So like I get behind Dali a lot of ways. and other art, right? So that's another thing, like graffiti, super, super,
Was it
super.
was he known for the clock paintings, like
Yeah,
the
the melting
dripping
clocks,
clock
right?
paintings?
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, that's Dolly. He had a big old weird like curly mustache and shit. Total weirdo, but like, man, I mean, there's so much into the art, right? Like, and it's cool. It's awesome. I love that. I was gonna say the graffiti thing. I think there's a big connection between growing and graffiti in a lot of ways because I mean, for a majority of the time, your art, your performance is a crime or is illegal, and you have to live, in the shadows of, or at least anonymously for the most part in both categories. But there's a lot of creativity and you know um, like independent style in both. And yeah, I mean, I find that connection great.
So, did you know? One other thing you kind of spoke of again earlier, keep kind of is the growing side of things. I've spoke very adamantly about that to be the fucking probably the more medicinal side of cannabis. I mean, sure, cannabis as a medicine has some weight, but man, there's a lot to be said about hanging out in your grow room
Oh
and
man.
losing yourself in the grow. Did you know? I actually didn't know this until about a couple months ago when I was listening to, I can't remember the book it was, but they said they knew in the 70s that horticulture had a huge value for recovering addicts, vets coming back from the war, and just PTSD in general. But they kind of suppressed that and kind of chose to take other routes to deal with it. And I was so disheartened in that because I know the value in it, to be honest with you.
That it's so true, but I want to know why. What I want to, and but see, the thing is, you don't want to know why because it's something super petty, right? It's something super petty, like some guy that year was trying to push some kind of rehab that was popular that he was going to make a couple bucks on, and now as a result, you know what I mean? Think about all the fucking lives that could have been saved from the 70s on. I mean, yeah, it's fuck. That's it's and yeah, more so than smoking, I truly think the art of tending to the plant is such therapy. Um, on so many levels. And I've talked about this with a couple of different people. I think more so it goes with the more plants. So like when I was in their size. So when I was in the triangle, I was growing in the Trinity Pines for a friend, and we had 200 plants. All of them were, I mean, mine were about 8 or 9 pound average, 200 of them, and then my neighbors were 15-pound average plants. And I'm telling you, there's an aura that comes off of those ladies when they're that size and you're walking through them at night and you can feel them. And I swear to God, there's an aura that comes off of them. And it's like, it'll bring any man to his knees. Like if you have hard or cold or something in your heart, I swear it'll like pull it out of you. And like, because I can speak of it as an addict because I was an addict. Okay. And I went onto the farm with a really pretty serious addiction, like to heroin. And I just had no desire to have anything near it. I swear to God, I'm not joking. When I'm around those ladies like that, it's almost like they're your mom. It's like you have this warm, like motherly fucking feeling that comes off these plants, man. And I got to take care of them. And it's like, so when you water them, you can feel that there's a connection between yourself and the plant. There's a connection when you water them. And it's like, they thank you. It's almost like they thank you. And I don't know how to describe it, but it's like that same thing that we were talking about earlier with like, when you help another addict and then you see them get free or whatever, that it's not them. They say that over and over. It's not them that gets the benefit. It's me. You know what I mean? Like I'm helping this plant to live and it's thriving. but it's helping me thrive so much more. But all right, so then let's go to the other side of it, right? So now I have this deep, deep, deep love for this plant, right? That I love more than anything. And I got root aphids.
So,
So
character building moment.
every time I close my eyes, I see root aphids on my babies. And it's like, it tears you apart. It's like, I don't know what to do. I'm researching it. I know that I have the answer and I'm slowly killing them, but it's like a child. It's like having a sick child. And it's like, I want to take care of them. I want them to be fixed right now. And I panic over it. You know what I mean? So with them being sick, it's almost like I feel sick. It hurts me for them to be that way. So, and
they can suck when root aphids can suck, that's for sure. When your plants are suffering, you do feel a direct correlation, just like a sick child. A good
and then I'll say this also, right? It's a snowball. It goes both ways, right? So that's what my mentor taught me about CO2. CO2 is a great implement if your garden is on point. If it's bad, it's a magnifier. So if your garden is doing bad, it'll make the garden worse. If it's doing good, it'll make it better, right? So it's a magnifying glass. And like that is what we were talking about. I lost it a little bit, the train of thought, but it's just like that.
Oh, I got a point there. I seen all the microdosing in chat there.
That's something I want to get into.
So, yeah, it helps.
I know it will.
So I'm into it. I am into it. So one thing I would like to see at some point is even if I could pull it off someday. I've talked very adamantly if I could get away with a nonprofit grow, I would be completely happy. I'm serious. If I could just pay my bills, eat, drive, and spend the rest of my time in the garden and do this right here, I'd be fucking set. That's all I need. That's all I want to do. You know what I mean? Good. Now I found out I was a grandfather, so spend time with the grandkid in the mix. Hopefully, teach him how to grow through the time. But yeah, I think it would be a great idea if we could implement like a large scale grow like that for recovering addicts, possibly people recovery, rehabilitation for people coming out of prison and shit like that. I think it would be a great system other than a lot of shit that we see now going on for recovery.
I think Michigan could be a great place for it. And I think there's enough people out there. So it's like that. So we're talking about the right thing, right? So that's the perfect idea. I love it. But it could happen because if you have enough forward thinking people that could push it. You know what I mean? So we were talking about that. I was talking about, like, I was trying to make that app to make people with the random act of kindness. And my friend's like, you're onto something, because and it's the same thing with the app that we we're talking about, that essence. Once you can build that train of positivity, but back it with a little bit of people that like know how to grow marijuana, it's an unstoppable force. And I really would love to see something like that, man. Like a compound. It's essentially like a 50-acre compound, man, where you got a bunch of little starter gardens and everybody can come on there and you grow your food. And you know what I mean? We teach you how to organically farm and grow it yourself. That I've actually heard, I think I read it somewhere and it was a joke, but it's true, that they're teaching inmates aquaponics.
It'd be pretty sweet.
I mean, it's knowledge, you know what I mean? Just to grow vegetables. I mean, one of the big key things in the world is the vertical farming. I mean, everyone in the world's getting on the produce vertical farming, right? But I think the secret behind that is what Latham talks about from Future Cannabis Project. He talks about the valuable space. The real use of vertical farming is in already available space. Right. So when those giant office buildings and shit that have those foyers that are just gaping foyers of nothing that let a bunch of natural light in. You could be growing shit all up and down those walls. It'd be beautiful, and it would be, you could feed the whole fucking village. There's a quote, a statistic that it was a couple years ago that I heard, but it was like, if you take so you take the average size of 2 skyscrapers in New York, the average size of 2 of them, and then you fill those 2 with top to bottom produce or vegetables, you could feed all of New York with just those 2 towers. That's crazy. That's crazy, bro. I mean, yeah, it is therapy. It's such great therapy, and there's not enough of it going on. And we touched it. So that's another one is the PTSD, and with veterans, man, I gotta call in to help veterans. I really think, because I think there's a good mixed treatment. They all need a lot of them have drug issues, right? And I think there's a mixed treatment with the smoking marijuana, but growing it, because it's not full sobriety. It's a program. It is a program, but it's got all the right things in it, you know, and I love to speak about that. I think that there's not enough of them that know about it. And I really think that that part of my calling is for that, man. I got a soft heart for them. I don't know why, you know what I mean? But goddamn, do I want to just fucking help veterans, and I want to help them with marijuana.
That's an awesome goal right there, man. They much deserve it. That's for sure. Some of the shit that they see and do while they're over there in service, it's no wonder that they're turning to some of the things they do, man. We talked about that kind of thing the other night with the magic fairy, the weed fairy and her gnome, about civil service workers as well, first responders and shit like that. Same, man. It's hard to shut that down, forget those images and shit like that. I mean, hats off to them folks. They should be offered that. They shouldn't have to rely on alcohol or anything else. You know what I mean? That can further impair them. Yeah, let them smoke some cannabis, go into their garden, and
they should be able to get, like, they should have special privilege. Like, they should get all kind of shit. There should be, so there it is, right? There should be some kind of fucking community. It's like the fucking Salvation Army, but for grow equipment and grow everything. And I mean, I got shit in my basement right now that I'll donate. I'm sure you probably got some leftover nutrients. Why can't I send that to a fucking national place and they give it out to veterans where it's just like, you know what I mean? I'll donate it all. That should all, like that needs to be. If it isn't, there should be a place where, I don't know what it is. You know what I mean? It's a little bit of funding to store a warehouse, and then somebody firing off grow stuff.
That's a hell of an idea. That's a really good idea, bro.
I got bottles down in my basement right now that I'll give up right now. I'll pay for the shipping to get rid of them, because I can't stand to pour them down the drain. I spend a lot of money on them. They're decent. I don't know. I mean, or I'll donate raw materials, whatever. I don't know. I just feel like there are other people that like me that probably want to help. It's just they don't know how, right? I mean, I'll donate time right now if you tell me where. But then, you know, so listen, you also now, because I know firsthand. I've had multiple roommates when I was in Arizona. I had a couple of roommates that were fresh out. When I had the dispensary, our security guards were just fresh off the boat from Iraq. They fresh out. I saw a lot of them. I saw them before they went in, and I saw them when they came out, and the difference. And it fucks them up. Okay, it fucks them up really bad, and it can make them unstable. So I want to help, but you got to be. I can't let them into my home. I mean, you know what I mean? There's certain things so that we need some, there should be some way that I can help, and you know what I mean? And everyone else can help and do it right.
I like the idea. I really like that idea, to be honest with you. I hope somebody gets behind that idea. Kind of, that's another thing I love about this community, or the current state of cannabis, is we have these communities, and they act more of a like an open source
Yes.
community these days. You know, people taking good ideas and expanding on them. That's the way it should. That's the way it should be. Either helping or expanding off of amazing
That's a
ideas.
thriving community. That's a thriving community. You know what I mean? One that's just exploding with creativity and positivity on a level that it's just like everything coming out of it is good. And I see a lot of that in the cannabis industry. I mean, it's cool. It's really cool.
So, what
That's
have
great.
been some of your favorite strains, either to grow or just for personally? Which ones do you prefer? Which ones you love?
All right. So I just thought about this recently. We burned, I probably went through about 30, roughly 30 strains last year. Um, all kind of different stuff. That's another thing that if you're real positive and active about your growing, you can get a lot of testers. Um, and for a minute, I was on a serious bag seed kick, right? So I have a close friend who's a pretty big California broker. And he sees a lot of bud through his hands. And so he will give me what's selling and what's trending. And it was really cool. And so then he would also, so I mean, out of 10, 15 pounds that he'd run through, he'd run across, so he'd get one or two bag seeds, you know. And one of the things that I loved at first when I first started about the bag seed was what you're gonna get, essentially. You know what I mean? Like I can see the weed right there, that shit. And when you get some weed and it's like the best weed you've ever smoked in your entire life, and then there's a seed in there, it's like, oh my God. So we grew some purple punch and this is another thing that I'm learning. For me, the growth, I love a story. It's a lot like wine, right? So I love a story behind it. Okay, so this purple punch I popped it from this breeder. Now so the purple punch that we have, um, my buddy was in charge of. He was managing the second largest indoor grow in Arizona, out in Surprise, Arizona, and they had a contract with Jungle Boys at the time, and so Jungle Boys will have a rep come in and monitor everything and make sure that you're growing to the parameters that the Jungle Boys allow because you're growing their strain and it has to be done properly. So they got a rep there and everything, right? And he also is like quality control essentially, but like he's like, you're not, no cuts are supposed to get out. You understand? Like, so I got a bag seed of their purple punch. They were growing purple punch at the time. So that was my purple punch. And a lot of people talk shit about purple punch, bro. I mean, I believe it's going to come back. A lot of people, I mean, there's a lot of uh, Masonic and James Loud. I mean, they go on for like 15 minutes about how much they hate purple punch in one time. And I'm just like, that's a stab to my heart because purple punch and me are, maybe it's just, I think it's the pheno I have, bro. It's freaking, it's a dream. I mean, it grows super vigor. And the only thing I'll say is she stretches. She's got some wicked stretch. I'm talking, maybe I get better at controlling it. I swear that I'll flip it at this big. I'll flip it at 15 inches and it'll grow to 4 foot. But I mean, it's got some donker buds on it, dark purple, smells like gas. Never had a seed, maybe one seed. I've grown it like 6 times. So that purple punch, it's got a special place in my heart. The mom was alive for a year in the basement. We sold a grip of clones to her. I mean, just love that plant. So she's got a special place. From that same guy, we got a cake batter, which is cherry pie times Girl Scout cookie. And that was from that same grow in Arizona. So that one was really, 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 really popular with us too. We like that one a lot. Then I started getting in with my buddy who's a local. He's been growing underground in Illinois for 12 years, man. He's got one of the most craziest seed collections I've ever seen. He's a huge seed nerd, but he pops 5 plants at a time and, you know, this and that. But so he gave me, but he's very, very, very knowledgeable about breeders. And I'm lucky to have him in my network. I'm very lucky because he's a nerd, super huge breeder nerd. And so he stumbled upon Devil's Lettuce, LA's Devil's Lettuce. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he's a young cat who does some great work. And I got a glue dream from him, which is Blue Dream times Gorilla Glue times Mendo cookies to make it purple. And it's just that perfect swollen calyx, just funk from the GG4 hitter, man. Love that plant. Love that plant. We lost it. So when I was growing in California, everyone just grows clones, and there's so much super dank around that all the genetics are fire, and nobody really gives a shit because they don't understand that they're in Mecca. So it just, everyone grows fireweed. And so and that pissed me off because we would grow this fantastic bud, but we didn't have it backed up and we could never grow it again. So when I'm growing this time, I always made it my goal to have never lose anything and back up everything 5, 6 times 7. And you can do that for a while, Eagle, but I swear, unless you're like crazy, man, like it wears you out. So like I did it with a bunch of strains for a bunch of times, and I got a little worn out. And of course, then I lose the ones that I want, right? So I lost the Glue Dream. And then here we go. I'll tell you, and I've been growing pot for a long time, dude. A long time, at least like 8 or 9 years off and on. And so I did this. This happened, and we're going to talk about it. The best plant, let me take it there. The best plant that I grew all year was from Masonic. It was, so I love, like, I love a story. So my buddy gave it to me. He's a breeder, wannabe breeder. He's a pollen chucker, but he's cool. But he's in LA, like Masonic. And so there's a mecca there. There's a lot of really good genetics, a lot of really good breeders. And if you have really good stuff and really good stuff, you cross it, you get really good stuff, usually, right? So that's what this kid did. And he's got the Masonic gear. And we got the Avatar Wilson from Masonic's store opener. So when he opened the store, he gave out seeds, and some of them were this Avatar Wilson. Avatar Wilson, best plant I grew all year by far. Checks all the boxes. Super, super funky gas, frosted to hell. Just super vigorous. Big old, I like to grow one massive cola bud because I grow like a little bit higher plant count, and I like to see that jump in cola, right? So they had that too. It's got some blueberry in it, but then the cement shoes, I believe, is what made that plant special. And then it had the Wilson in it. And so I had 6 seeds, and I grew them all out. I think 4 were male, 2 were female. Something happened to one, and then I flowered out one, and before it finished, I backed it up in the cloner. And I had another one. I think I had another one, but I thought it was, anyway, I don't know what happened. And I flowered it out. That was the one. I got pictures of it. It's actually, I think it's still my photo for, what's it called? Clubhouse. It's my Clubhouse photo. Beautiful plant. Amazing. So we're going to run this one. We're definitely going to run it. I got the mom. And she's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And she's big, and, she's about 6 foot. So we pop off a good amount, it's like 64. We took 64 really good clones, and we babied them, and these are going to be the ones. Super excited. We get them outside, and we got the Dino Michael with them, and they really are exploding. We're running the Athena, and they get to 2 weeks into flower, Eagle. They were all males. 64 males, bro. I don't know how it happened. I back up everything. I had it in the cloner. I know it was the best plant. Lost it, and I planted 64 males and didn't know about it until 2 weeks into flower. So I had to rip all those out, start over. That one's gone. I got 2 seeds left in the pack. Hopefully one of them a female. Maybe we'll get it back. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, dude, I've been doing it.
That's tough, man. That's a lot of males. That's a lot of boys, Rick.
My mentor is like, I never heard of that. Been doing this a long time. Been overseeing a lot of gardens.
Yeah, I've never heard of. Yeah, that's a lot, man. At that point, I'd be wondering what to do to deserve this.
Well, listen, how do I swear? Listen, I looked at that mom like 10 times, and she was showing like I know it had hairs. It had female hairs, dude. Like, I don't get it, man. I just don't get it. But
been full of her.
It won't happen again. And no, I checked, man. They were males.
Yeah. It's tough.
So we lost that one, and now we're running. So here's another one is my buddy is working in the hospitality industry. He's like sommelier in training or something. So he's down in Santa Rosa doing that thing, and he comes up to visit, and he brings 10 apple fritter clones. This is like a year and a half ago, when no one even really knew. I didn't even know what apple fritter was. It just sounded cool. It's like, that sounds fruity, let's run that. So I ran the apple fritter, and it turned out to just be the most gas fucking amazing strain I've ever had in my entire damn life. And it's by Lumpy. Here's another thing that's just so cool about the Instagram is, I mean, this apple fritter is fucking amazing. It's so cool. And it just makes me respect the man who breeds it a lot. And he's super trendy, super popular strain. Everyone loves it. So I message him on Instagram. I see him when he posts, and then I try to hit him right when he posts, because I know he's got his phone in his hand, right? So I'm trying to think about ways. So I'm talking. I send him messages, and so he messages me back. To me, that's like the coolest thing in the fucking world. I'm messaging back and forth with Lumpy. I mean, this is motherfucking Lumpy from fucking, and the Lumpy's fritter. This is his shit. So I don't know. To me, that's fucking awesome. It's 6:30 in the morning. We're talking about air conditioners with the fucking coolest guy in the fucking. This is Lumpy. You know what I mean? So I mean, thank God for Instagram. It pushes me forward to be able to like get confirmation. So then we're talking with him, and I'm telling him how much I love his plant, and then I tell him, listen. I show him I got engaged. So I got engaged like 2.5, 3 weeks ago, and I told him, I said I was able to get this ring from the apple fritter that I grew. So, I mean, I really appreciate it. You know what I mean? And he was really cool. And so, like, the way that I see it in my head is, like, if I message him 3 or 4 times a week and he messaged me back, like, after a year, without whether he knows it or not, we're going to be friends. I mean, yeah, like, he's not going to be able to, we're just going to be friends at that point. I mean, so it's cool. I mean, the Instagram is so cool for that, dude. I can message. I've talked with Chris. I mean, that's another one that I'm after. I'm chasing, and I'll drive out there. I'm probably going to end up driving out to Oakland to go see Chris from Compound, because I'm a really, really big fan of those genetics. And he's messaged me a couple times. I've talked to him, and it's another one where I got super stoked when he followed me, right? And then I posted it on my thing, like, oh my God, Chris Compound followed me. And it was a scammer, right? And I was like, damn it, But then the real one followed me, and he's like, here, dude, like, sorry, whatever, like, that's fucked up. Like, there's a lot of scammers out there. But tonight it's like, all right, redemption, that's awesome. Cool. I got the real, so it's like the community is solid, even though I feel like all the way to the top. I mean, I would love to be able to get my hands on some apples and bananas, bro. I mean, I really think that's a good one. His grow, the way that he puts off his pictures is essentially what I want. I want to grow like the pictures that what he grows. The swollen calyx, fat, just pretty dense swollen calyx bud. We're chasing that, And I think it has to do with mixed spectrum. I believe that you have to have a really good mixed spectrum and then perfect VPD. But I don't know. You got any thoughts on how to get real swollen calyxes?
Stress. Stress.
Okay.
Towards the
think
end
that
of flower there. That's letting them flop. I've always been a big fan of, keeping them moving with a lot of air movement, letting them flop to the point of where they're almost ready to snap, and then supporting them or almost putting them on a yo-yo there.
Okay.
Uh,
What
Stress
about
is a good thing.
so now we're dealing with, so here's what we're dealing with right now. And so I've been hearing things, and we tried it roughly in the tent and I had good results. So I think we're gonna run it but a little different. So now I have one tray that is, see, this is gonna be kind of hard to figure out, but it's silly numbers. So we have one tray that is um it's like day 3 of week 7. No, it's no. So whatever. It's like in the middle of week 8 and I'm flushing it. But I want it to go purple. I want the Garys to go purple. And I tried this thing where the last 2 weeks of flower you push like 64-degree temperature nighttime and daytime to push that hard purple and then push frost. And we liked it, but I don't want to put it on too early because like I have now 2 trays that are 2 weeks behind the Gary tray because I had to rip out fucking 64 males and then replant them with good plants. So those ones are 2 weeks behind in the same room. So I want to push the Garys cold, but I don't want to do it until at least the end of week 6 because I believe we're going to get a lot of swelling in week 6, right? So I don't want to fuck with them until the end of week 6. So that'll put the Garys like at the end of week 8 and then they'll go purple. But it's like, what are your thoughts about end of, for stressing like purple temperature drop?
Temperature will most definitely bring out some purpling there, a little bit 30-degree swing like that. I actually think, moreover, and it's a little harder to do in with salts there, but letting them go full turn. A lot of people like to harvest a little bit too early. I like to see all those hairs, turn before I even think about harvesting. I like, but a lot of people miss that last week of swell there. So
So
if you let the plant go that far and actually get into its natural senescence, where you've stopped feeding in it and it's starting to eat itself a little bit, I think that's when you start to get a little bit without the temperature change. You allow a little bit of the senescence, the natural colors kind of come out in it.
very
Yeah.
true. Very true. And so we've been growing a lot of purple this year, and it's so weird to see, like, even if you don't do the temperature change, like week 7, there's no purple. Like my Gary's week 7, there's no purple. And it's like, dude, what am I doing? Is it not going to go? Is it not going to go? And then bam, just like day 6, week 7, they're purple. And it's like, what? Bam, what? It's cool. I mean, that's a cool thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of peak growers these days are actually using just a little bit too many inputs to try to get that swell at an earlier time instead of letting it naturally ripen out.
I think there's a lot to be said to that. I think there's a good train of thought about, so the front row ag train of thought is different than the Athena train of thought. And we've seen some damn good success with this train of thought, this method. So what it is instead is it's okay, so day 1 flower is 50% light and 50% nutrients, and then you're gonna stack up anywhere between like 5 and 10% every week, and you might not even get to 100% nutrients or 100% light. And when you stack that slowly every week, you get pretty good stacking increase. you know what I mean, every week. And we've had pretty good success with that. And I believe every really good grower will probably tell you that, like anything, less is more, right? It's a big one.
It's hard to resist, it's the American way. Bigger is better, more, 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 more. It's hard to
So
sway away from that mentality, I think. But
it's
once you
so
kind of figure it out, it's the same thing with manifestation. Once you kind of figure that out, man, it's like
I know.
I figured out
It's
a
so
new.
it's yeah. I mean, I find it in. I mean, I work out pretty religiously too, and it's the same thing. You have to not only pace yourself, but not try to lift more than you're capable of, right? I mean, slow and I mean, like you're gonna get bigger by the slow increase faster than trying to jump into super heavy weight and hurting yourself. So plants are resilient though. Damn if they ain't resilient.
I speak of that fact all the time, man. They are resilient. They take a lot of abuse. So, what other techniques do you support or you push during the first few weeks of flower? There, you kind of said that's the most important time,
I
most
mean, so look,
critical time.
yeah, so it's a new kind of train of thought, right? I mean, I'm kind of just adapting it as I go, but it's more okay. So what it is right now is monitoring EC in and runoff, right? And trying to make sure that my runoff is perfect, and then really trying to, balance canopy, balance VPD, make sure that so another big part of runoff EC management is dryback. So we've been trying to mess with the dryback a lot, right? 40% compared to 15%, dryback. And this is all I'm doing this by hand. So I want to get into, the moisture meter setup. There it's $800. I'm not there yet, but I would love to get into some kind of moisture meter in pot. We're doing cocoa perlite in pots, but I've been talking a lot with Dutch Plantin. Dutch Plantin. So we got Dutch Plantin from Mobile J, right? Mobile J rocks Dutch Plantin. His crew is doing Dutch Plantin. So we looked into it. There's Dutch Plantin and there's Rio Cocoa. I think those are the two main ones that are good. And so, but Dutch Plantin's been really cool, super cool. And they sent us out like I called him 3 times, and 2 times he's like, "How many plants?" I'm like, "1 tray." He's like, "All right, I'll send you out the nutrients and all the cocoa for 1 tray." That's like $800 worth of freaking nutrients and cocoa he just sent out. He did it twice. I called him 3 times. This guy. I'm like, what? That's insane. So I mean, yeah. I mean, what? Why would I use anybody else? That's insane. It's the same. So I mean, all right. So look, that's another reason why like we started using Athena, right? I want everything to be scalable. And God knows I love Floraflex, dude. I love people giving free knowledge. Floraflex loves to give out a bunch of free knowledge, and I love them for that. But when I was looking at this commercial 50 light grow, and I was trying to budget the nutrients from start to finish, I was currently using, at that time, I was using Cutting Edge. Cutting Edge is a great line. It's like a 6-part, from Santa Rosa. They're local. It's supposed to be tested as the cleanest, line like for heavy metals. Great line. I didn't even check them because it was about $600 to get me through my small little tent rip. So we didn't try them. So I ran Floraflex to see what it would be. Floraflex was like $3,700 to get through from start to finish for their line, right? Athena came in at like 675. Say it was like $700. And so then we tried it, right? And I saw expressions from, and we were just using their basic. I didn't even use their liquid. It was just their 2-part, like their grow and their core, and then their bloom and their core. It's all I used on and I saw some expression. Remember, I was telling you about that cake batter. I grew it for over a year. I got this thing where if I see anyone that I can talk to, really, I'm gonna try to convince you that you probably need a tent in your basement and that you should be growing pot. So like I'd say like maybe like 35% of those people will listen to me. And as a result, I've set up maybe, 10 or 12 little mini grows throughout for friends, showing them how to get started. And oh fuck, I lost my train of thought again. We were talking about growing. Can you remember, Eagle? I lost it.
Sorry about that. I was muted. You were basically talking about getting anybody started that had the extra space, basement space or whatever, to get a tank going in there, get in. You had a bunch of pretty much helped get a bunch of micros going.
Right. So we're doing the micro grow. Oh, so I want everyone. So we're running the Athena, and it was super cheap. Oh, so that the point of me talking about that was in all of those gardens I saw that cake batter go grow. Like I saw it go through term a bunch of times in a year, like like maybe 15 or 20 times, really. And then I watched it in that basement with that Athena, the basic line, and it looked like a different plant that I'd never seen before. Swear to God. Everything else was the same relatively. It was Trollmaster running it, fucking monitored it was, if anything, it was better conditions, but it just that basic Athena, and man, it looked like the pictures. It looked like the pictures. Crazy.
All that, man. That so was it 10 or 12 different locations and it's just that one that expressed it differently? Is that what I heard?
Pretty much. They all looked about the same, give or take, because it was all cut. It was all going to be the cutting edge. So I put everybody on the cutting edge. That's what I was using. So everybody used what I used, and it looked different, but like you could identify it as the same plant. Obviously it looked a little bit different everywhere. But then the one in Michigan that had the Athena, that was a different. I believe that was the only thing that was different about that one was a couple of things. Number one was that was the first time we ran the Athena. The second one was I had someone else helping me grow, and so the lights never went up to 1,000. They stayed on 600, and we had one MH and one HPS over each tray. So I really think the full mixed spectrum and not going up to 1,000 on the one light made them grow. That with the Athena made them grow better than anything I've ever seen. I mean, it was in a basement. They didn't get anything special, but something about that mix right there. I've been chasing that.
I can't help but wonder, is it consistently that location that keeps
All
that
right, so I'll tell
expression,
you.
or are you able to duplicate that in
So,
the other ones?
So I was able to get the swollen, and so you kind of ring a bell when you said stress, right? So we got the swollen calyxes at another location, but in too much. So what happened here is the guy went out of town and had it on auto water, and I went in at like week 2 of flower, and we couldn't figure out what was going on because he didn't set his light line schedule on his Trollmaster. So one of the timers had failed, and the light was on for about 5 days or 6 days straight, 2 weeks into flower. Now we fixed it and put it back, but you got these crazy, ridiculous, just fat, swollen calyxes only. And it was like one calyx, but it was huge and fat and swollen. So I was like, all right, so there's that there. But we had done the MH and the and the metal and the what you know what I'm talking
Metal
about.
highlight and HPS.
HPS. So we had one HPS and metal highlight over the tray. So you know what I mean? But I don't know if that's what it is, what's giving us a swollen calyx, or if it's the too much stress. You know what I mean? Now, that basement where we saw that bud grow, he was never able to get barely anything to grow before us because he wasn't monitoring it with the Trollmaster. He had very bad luck in that basement before us. We also installed a sump pump that needed to be installed. And so the basement floor never flooded after we were there. So I had that, you know what I mean? I set up a daytime and nighttime temperature. That was never a thing. Trollmaster was monitoring everything perfectly from then on. He had a 5-ton air conditioner in there that wasn't working properly because he didn't have it monitored. He was just like, he would set it with a little thermostat and then he wouldn't come back. And I'm like, dude, you don't know what temperature's in here. So we dialed them in. He wasn't growing real good before that. We dialed him in real good and we ripped it. We ripped it really well. And you know, like there's this thing, I don't know, maybe we won't get into it, but there sometimes you give and give and give and give and give, and then people just like they take and expect that, you know what I mean? Like, or whatever. I don't know. There's bad in there. You know what I mean? If you give your whole heart to some people, you know, they take advantage. And, you know, I feel like there's a lot of people, there's a lot out there. And in the industry, you got to be careful, right? So remember that too, right? It's not all rainbows, you know? So we kind of saw it coming and I kind of knew it was going to happen. And I take everything in stride and we pivot, like I said. So we learned a lot out there. And we were compensated, you know what I mean? I do think that, like anything, you know what I mean? It was meant to happen and I'm glad that it did. And, you know, no true hard feelings, but whatever. It is what it is. I was happy to be able to go.
So a couple of things here. I think I've heard you say it a couple of times. There is 100% difference, in my opinion, between cannabis community and the cannabis industry. I feel like there's a sure difference in the way people treat each other on the larger scale, money of it. There's fucking profits, there's overhead, there's partners, and a lot of times that don't even grow cannabis, that are just there for the money.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of things that sway cannabis in a negative way in the cannabis industry. Now, the cannabis community, the breeders, the small scale growers, people that grow it because they love it, them people are fucking awesome. You know what I mean? So there's two different avenues there, I think.
That's a very, very, very good separation because you're right. The cannabis industry is totally fucked, and that is the epitome, or that is the culmination of it's a multi-trillion-dollar industry worldwide. I know in America, I believe it's tea. I'm pretty sure we're in the trillion-dollar industry. When you have something of that power, that magnitude, there's always going to be corruption. And in such a cash crop, right? I mean, I talk about this a lot. I love to talk about this. The Declaration of Independence is printed on hemp paper. If it was printed on regular paper, it would have been disintegrated, but the oils from the hemp allow it to remain to this day, right? And the original reason it was outlawed is because big logging was worried about hemp paper taking over their fucking paper market. And so they spread propaganda about the shit. Like, its whole life, it struggled to be controlled by asshole industry motherfuckers. And I think as you've opened the door to legality, you've let the fucking pioneers and the people that are the good, you've let them out of the closets and out of the corners where they were hiding because you had trapped them there because they're the good, right? So now as this legal is happening, we're able to step forward a little bit and say, now look, we're going to use our love for marijuana to do some fucking good shit here now. And I think we're kind of in that golden era right now, or we're close to being of that era, where it's like we can kind of like use it as a blanket to do good and in a world that, because I mean, I was fucked by the industry over hard. And I think a lot of us that want to see good were fucked because god damn are there some sharks. Yes, there are.
Oh, 100%, man. There's people looking to take advantage of good growers every day just to help them get established, up and running, and basically, show them the ropes, and then
Yeah.
there you go. See you
I've
later.
seen it so many
It's a
times.
horror story that I've heard.
They always tell you get everything in paper, get it in paper, and a grower is like, nah, man, you know what I mean? I'm just gonna grow because I love to grow, and they're like, cha-ching. I seen it, bro. It's funny because like, so when I was in LA and we were doing the dispensary thing, I would go up into the hills, and I was blessed. I was pretty good at building out a grow room at the time. HPS was the only thing going, and so it was, managing a small room was all about like heat management. So I was really good at making airtight, really good room. And so we were going up into the mansions, and the millionaire motherfuckers would always want, they would want grows and shit. So we were doing some grows in some like 4 or 5 car garages, and every one of the grows would come with a hippie, would come with some wook that would, you know what I mean? Because these guys didn't know how to grow. And so like the grow had to have a grower, and it was always like some long-haired hippie, which I'd like to say was gonna stay in the garage and live. And it's just like it's the industry, man. It's hilarious.
So I really did uh, enjoy the talk about the micro grows and the single of the basement there, because um, it's been it reminds me of something that's going on here that we again we've kind of talked about stresses, how to change the plant a little bit. And so I've been looking for trying to get the pine terps here for like the last 2 years, okay? And I've had people send me pine, send me pine, send me pines. I've had cultivars that kind of express it a little bit, but in the end, at the end of flower, I've been getting something completely different, something that expresses more towards a fruit. Okay.
Okay.
Now, what strikes me about your one basement story is the similarity of the pine. Okay. And I think at some point this will become a recipe. You know what I mean? We'll
Yes.
find out. I'm going to cut. I don't want to spoil the end. All right. We'll just keep going here. So I changed one. I didn't really realize what the change was until I spoke with Mr12n12 last week during an episode, and I told him the very same story. And what we kind of deduced, or he deduced, I should say. I don't want to take credit for something I couldn't figure out. You know what I mean? But what he had mentioned was gases. And when I had talked to everybody else about this, I'm like, there's got to be a way we can, uh, reverse engineer what's causing the change here. And you know what I mean? There's got to
Yes.
be something in the change that can basically tell me what the oddball factor in my environment is. That, you know what I mean? And I think, again, I don't want to jump to the end. So what he had said was, I think, is there a possibility of there's a gas, a vent, or a fucking drain, da 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 da. And I'm like, yeah. And I had noticed it actually a few months ago. There, I'm not. This is a barn type area, but it has a 12-inch floor drain right there.
Okay.
And again, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. So he starts talking about gases, ripening gases and shit like that, for fruits. There could be possibly a gas coming out of there, and it could be, that, or even possibly sewer gas, something like that. And then at that point, it kind of clicked for me that he was right on, because a couple of months ago, I had actually started to notice a gas, right? So I started covering that vent with a saucer in a way, putting the weight over top of it. And, you know, but I honestly think that's where things went wrong. I mentioned this the other night. This grow space before this had fatigue mats over it. And it was like 2 years ago, I pulled up the floor and started looking for pine. So it kind of coincides with each other. So I can't help it. And I even giggled when you said you'd messed with the septic a little bit over there. I can't help but wonder if there may be another pressure there, something we can't, your troll master will help you, in a lot of ways, temperature, CO2, and a lot of things, but
All
not
right.
necessarily from unseen gases. Maybe,
Okay.
possibly something, radon or something else you
All
don't
right.
see.
All right. You ready for this? I'm gonna rock you now. You ready for this? At that facility. Now, here we go. You opened up a can here. At that facility. Here's the reason why he wanted me out there. Okay, he couldn't grow at this facility. Now, he's a guy from the city, and he moved out there by his bootstraps, right? And he ended up by himself running a very successful, like 100 lighter or 200 lighter or whatever. He had a bunch of different things going, but he ran them all by himself by hand, right? And so at this facility, this was like his fourth one, and all of them he was decent, very decent grower, but it's all very manual. Okay, now at this spot that I was growing, this is in downtown Saginaw. There's a room, and it's decked out. It's got Floraflex drippers. It's got all 50 lights. It's got the 5-ton AC. I installed the Trollmaster. Okay, now directly below that is the basement. In the room that we're talking about, perfect conditions, everything's great. If you move plants in there, after 2 weeks, they get white and they die. So he called me because he's so pissed he can't figure out why pot won't grow in this room. And I'm like, dude, I'll figure it out. So he's like, yeah, right, blah, blah, blah. So I come out there, I install the Trollmaster, we get the environment down perfect. But a pot won't grow in there. I move weed in there, it won't grow. Now, directly below that in the basement, pot grows perfect. Exactly everything the same, except for the only thing that's different is one fucking floorboards, and some wood, and then the space above it, directly above it, pot will not grow there. Now, I tried forever trying to figure it out. As far as getting on Discord and talking with a couple of guys that were commercial in the area, and they got a mobile lab that will come out. We're trying to test air quality and figure out if it's air quality. What the hell? What's going on? Now, my buddy goes, this is what our last resort. We're going to do it, and I don't care. So wait, So first I get a paint sprayer out, and I spray bleach, Avid, bleach, everything. 3 trips down the whole walls, everything. Bleach the crap out of it. And then we pop some cones in there and run it. They make it about a week and a half longer than anything else ever has. But then they die. So my buddy's like, last ditch effort, this is what we do. We wrapped the entire room in 6 mil plastic and stapled it up to the walls. Wrapped the entire room in plastic. Pot grows perfect in there now. No clue. Now, we got a little backstory about the facility. And I guess there was a huge hole in the roof at this place for a long time, and the wood floors had bubbled up from moisture for a very long time. And they used these freaking heavy weights to push the floor back down to get it to stick down. And God knows that the building was probably considered condemned or what, but there was gases, bro. It was gases. But here's what fucks with me is I had my grower living right outside of that room. And he wasn't sick, never got sick, didn't get hurt. So it's like, why could he live right there? But then you couldn't. It was the gases. And when we wrapped it in plastic, it worked. And directly below it, pot grew fine. So.
Yeah, I can definitely believe that. I want to say there's some maybe molds or something off gassing in that drywall. That's why when you covered them up, and that's so, that's what I think we may be coming to at some point. We talk about stresses and way to swallow them. I think at some point, maybe even on a larger scale, because I don't think you'd be doing
Gas them?
On home level. I think they'll be doing that. I think they'll be sealing up rooms and they'll have an air recipe, not just a light recipe, but they'll have a sweet spot of oxygen, CO2, and whatever gases, nitrogen and shit that they found that sweet spot, and then they'll just lock them up.
Cool.
Last week you're sealed in that. I really believe that's going to be a thing. Yeah.
And you call that like a ozone recipe, right?
Yeah.
God. So they were onto some cool tech as far as gases with sealing for a little bit. They had this really expensive sealer, vac sealer, and it would suck all the air out, and then right at the end give you a little tiny shot of nitrogen, and then seal it. And that nitrogen shot was supposed to lock in freshness for like over 3-4 years. So there's a little bit of gas play, if you will. I mean,
I've heard that nitrogen stored be like that. It does, but it's like basically when you open it up, like it's a limited time, basically. You know what I mean? It powders up fast, and you kind of immediately kind of lose the curve as soon as you crack it.
Well, and then
but
another,
it will keep it, like you said, nice until you crack that lid for.
Right. And there's more gases. Yeah, is the cure. The whole cure process is a process. And I get into this with the diamond tech. This is another gas trap. Okay. So essentially when you cure, there's a gas process that we don't know that's happening, and also enzymes and shit that are breaking down and transferring terp flavor. Would you talk about towards the end, the flavor changes? There's an enzyme and microbes and shit and gases that we don't know what's going on in there that essentially cures the weed and makes it its dankness, right? And it finishes and cures the marijuana. The other trap gas that I know of as of late is when I do a BHO run, what we're doing now is you do the pour with a little bit of butane remaining, and then you cap it and you throw it in the freezer. And when it's in the freezer, the gas doesn't expand or contrast as much, but it slowly is going to raise off the dome and bounce back. And it creates a small little bit of compression that causes the THC after it's reached super saturation. So you need to get it to super saturation where it's barely suspended, but it's like it's goop essentially, but it's barely suspended. You leave it there, and then what happens is the compression is going to of the gases. The butane's trying to get out a little bit, but it can't. So it's going to press and force the THCA to crash out of your mixture, and now you have diamonds. And I get a way more terpy, tasty expression from my wax because the gases bounced off, and now I believe they've stuck, and they're stuck, and they're not coming up.
So is that another avenue in cannabis that you enjoy, is the extraction side of things?
Oh yeah, so just like growing, I was in Oakland learning the indoor craft. This was after I was with Bayless and them, and I'm at this guy's. I've just been so blessed my whole career. He was a teacher at Oaksterdam, and I lived with him at his house for a while. And I got to grow with him in his indoor grow, in his little home grow. He taught me a little bit about home growing there. Damn, I lost it again. I lost my train of thought. Something about Oaksterdam being blessed and growing with him.
We were talking about basically starting off with your love for extractions.
Yes. So I'm at his house, and this dude comes in and goes, I just sold my wax recipe for 10 grand. I go, what? The recipe? He goes, yeah, bro, the recipe. So then right then I'm like, dude, that's crazy, right? And so then I got on the tip of that. I worked for a grower one year, that following year, and I got paid all in popcorn nug. I'm like, just give me all popcorn nug. He's like, all right, whatever, cool. So he gave me a fucking turkey bag. No, not a turkey bag. A fucking 55-gallon, the big trash bag full of popcorn nug, dude. Probably like 40 pounds of fucking just beautiful popcorn nug. And there was only like 4 guys that I think I knew that were making it at the time, PHO. And so I was like, check it out. I'll split material. I'll give you all the material. I'll pay for the butane. Show me how you run, and I'll split the yield with you. And so all of them showed me, and I took a little bit of each one of their tech, and I made my own recipe, and we were just open blasting, dude. And so I'm in the triangle, and freaking all these growers are machine trimming hundreds of pounds, and they're throwing all their trim out. And I'm like, here, take this. And I'd give them some of my wet. They called it honey oil. I'm like, do you like, give me all your trim and I will give you back this honey oil. And they're like, what? You want the trim? We throw this stuff out. So I'm getting hundreds of pounds of the best material ever for me just to play with, you know? So I got really, really, really deep into extraction up there. I mean, we were doing like just these giant glass tubes running. We were running master cases. This is how I got locked up the first time. So we're just doing blast, learning, getting really good, staring at ovens, just really turning out a quality product and loving it. You know, we're going, so I'm a medical patient and I can legally carry as much BHO as I want. I can legally carry as much wax as I want. I believe it's like, there's no limit. I can go into the dispensary at this time with my medical card and I can sell them 2 ounces of wax. And I did that. I have a receipt on my Instagram. If you look back, there's paperwork and it says 12 and 12. And I paid legal money for my wax in the dispensary, but it's illegal for me to manufacture it. Can't make it. No matter how you do it, it's illegal for you to make it at that time in California. So we had a very nice setup. We were going good. My neighbors didn't like us. Something happened. They called and they came in and we had like 10,000 butane cans or something in the house, and they lost it. And so, you know, we got locked up. I did a little bit of time for that, but all things considered, you know, I met a couple of people that I still talk to this day when I was in there. And if I was in any other state besides California, they would have never let me out, you know? So thank God I was in the state that I was in when it happened. And, you know, we learned our lesson and we moved forward, but, we learned some really cool tech and like I said, I'm kind of an inventor or I love future tech. I'm very, very into future technology. I'm in 35, right? So we followed the internet era, right? You know, so like I watched that advancement in technology, loved it. I love the advancement of cell phone advancements, but besides cell phones, there has been no advancement on any level, technical, freaking anything, as the evolution of concentrates. I mean, anybody just watching it from the beginning, we were fucking using PVC pipes from Home Depot with 2 coffee filters and a butane can. And now I am confident that I can run like a bidirectional closed loop, you know, with a 50 foot 3/8 coil running -80 all day with no remediation powder. I mean, and just getting pure diamond on the out. 28% on my live resin runs. And the guy who's showing me how to do this, I'm like, man, if you don't get everything exactly right, it's not going to work, because I'm learning how to do passive. So I'm used to active recovery, which uses a vapor recovery pump. So it's like brute force, essentially. Like I'm going to make that butane move no matter what. Just turn the pump on and it's going to go. Now, passive recovery requires more theory or like understanding the principles. So I'm talking with my guy. I'm like, dude, I got it, but it's like, it's tricky, you know, this is hard shit. You got to focus. It's not for stoners. And he's like, dude, you realize you're fucking with, these are the laws of thermodynamics. He's like, I mean, that's what you're pushing here. And I don't know. I think that's kind of cool to say that, but it's true. I mean, if you don't have an extreme, like 103-degree bath around the collection and the solvent tank isn't like -50, the gas ain't going to move. It'll never move, you know? And it's like, if you don't hit that sweet spot, it won't move at all. But once you hit it, it fucking rips and you're recovering in like 15 minutes. So when I learned that, it turned my process of like one run from like 3.5 hours to 30 minutes. This man like changed my life. You know what I mean? So we went way colder and way faster with a little bit of tech because I'm passionate about what I do. And this guy who's a fucking like wizard, essentially, was, you know, blessed me. And it's just like, do it like this and run like this. And here's the tech and you know, like life-changing shit. And Eagle, this happens to me like every freaking week, man. Like every week, it's like something else has happened, and I tell it, and it's like people are like, no, it's like, how? It's cool. So cool.
It's awesome, man. Fucking so fella, as far as the BHO process goes, and we talk about meeting people in our cannabis journey there, I was lucky enough to come across and be able to call a friend and friend of the show, John Davis, Indra, or the guy that actually pulled the patent for BHO extraction there, is friend of the show as well.
Awesome.
Fellow weed nerd, man. He's a good dude, man. A lot of great stories about early extraction days. Early extraction days.
Oh, man.
All kinds of stuff, not just cannabis, but if you're interested, he's got a few episodes on the show, on the channel here. Where he talks, you know, about basically extracting mescaline and all kinds of shit. But yeah, good stories, man. There's a lot of science to that shit, man. Like from you say, man, there's a lot of people, even including myself, probably lucky to be alive. I only done it once or twice, but yeah, the coffee filter, the PCB pipe in the garage. Oh my God, yeah, lucky to be alive. Yeah, come a long way, and the tech's become a long way since then.
Dude,
I mean,
like
night and day.
You can make concentrates now. You know what I mean? Solventless it's a fucking hair straightener. They were using a hair straightener and some freaking parchment paper, and now look at what fucking rosin is. You know what I mean?
So another thing I want to ask you about is a couple of things, basically. Since you're pretty frequent to the dabs there, I kind of relate that to, maybe it's time and place, but I kind of correlate a lot of the dab craze with a lot of the PTSD and anxiety we see in a lot of the younger generations, because I don't necessarily see them having the love for flower that we do. It's more extracts. I think it's because of the up and down of the dabs. What do you think about that? And another kind of question that go along with that is, I think this has something to do with it, is the missing parts of like the fats and lipids that kind of help keep that high in your system aren't no longer present in the dabs. How come, they're so flavorful? I mean, why do you pull them out? Why, you know what I mean? Do you love the fucking the crumble yourself? I know I enjoy it. That's where the fats and lipids kind of hang out there. Crumble.
Okay, yeah. So
your thoughts on all the above? I guess.
Okay, yeah, no, I love it. So, I will be the first one to say I think I'm fucking ruined by dabs. For a long time, I made it and I didn't smoke it because it would get me too high and for too long, you know, so I I'm addicted to it. So right now I feel now I can go back and forth a little bit, right? So if I don't smoke all day, I can smoke a joint in the afternoon and I'll get high. But if I'm smoking dabs, I can smoke like 3 or 4 blunts and not be high at all. Okay. So it takes me to a level of tolerance that I don't enjoy. and like anything, right? Too much of anything is not a good thing. Um I I can ruin an entire day with 4 dabs. If I take 4 dabs in a row, done. I can literally do, and to me, in a lot of ways, that's very similar to heroin. I mean, it is. I'm not gonna lie. I could do a shot of heroin and be out the whole day. So it's like, I mean, I don't want to go there, but it is. It's a drug. I feel more with because of like anything, right? So now my THC content is higher, right? So I feel probably a little bit like I definitely get moody when I don't have it, right? I get a little bit more on edge from like maybe like lightweight THC withdrawal because I'm taking it. I mean, look, you've seen me take probably 4 dabs and monster dabs since we've been on the show, right? And like that's a lot of THC, right? I mean, I feel like it is. So now what you're talking about with the full spectrum, you're so right on that level too. Sometimes I've noticed this now. I've been smoking probably specifically just like only dabs for a little over a month and a half. And during that month, now I'm craving something else. I tell you, when I need to smoke joints. So I'm smoking joints throughout like not even every day, but maybe every other day or every third day because I know, I'm telling you, subconsciously, I feel like I'm pretty well in tune with my body, and there's something missing from the dabs. There's something that you get from full plant smokage, and it's probably the fats and lipids. I believe that it's the chlorophyll. I believe there's something in the chlorophyll that's helpful or something, and it also acts as a courier, I think, right? The fats and lipids are, it's like the principle of bulletproof coffee. You know, like, so you put like a little bit of fat or something in your coffee and the caffeine binds to it. So it's slow release, essentially. Yes, absolutely. There's truth to that. I can't speak for the generation being 35 below me, but I think dabs are more, yeah, I mean, it's more concentrated. You know, it's stronger. It's a harder punch. Yeah, all those things. I think dabs have their place as well. You know what I mean? Now, I'll say this, right? I'm aware that it's like almost, it's not, I wouldn't call it a problem, right? I wouldn't, because I'm aware of it, and I'm able to do like small controlled tolerance breaks, right? So I like today I woke up and I didn't smoke probably until like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Whereas, you know, I could wake up at 7 in the morning and take a fat dab, and then throughout the day. What I will notice is without the massive amounts of dabs throughout the day, I don't get super tired around 3 like I do as I am smoking religiously all day, right? I'm also trying to flip my house, so I'm playing with, but see, I pride myself in being able to control that in a way where I couldn't do that with any other drug, right? And I can do things like smoke a joint instead of take a dab, right? And play with my, so I kind of picked it up. I was talking about needing a tolerance break, and they said maybe not a tolerance break, but the amount and the time that you smoke. So if you're smoking like every hour, you know, a joint, maybe you take a hit twice an hour. You know what I'm saying? Or like something, you split up your time and the amount instead of, you know, like micro dosing essentially maybe. And I think I mean, that's one of the cool things about weed, right? I mean, I can do that, and that's where we're at. I was for a long time I was pro BHO because no one, you know, not a lot of people were, and I was on that train for a long time as opposed to solventless, and then it became such a force that I had to learn it, and so we've done solventless, and I messed with it for a while, and we did a lot of pressing, screwed up pressing a lot, wasted a lot of really good stuff, you know, and I think we got pretty good at it. We got the washing machine, and 180 with the 23 micron bag. I think the best stuff to press on the earth is from your trim bin, the keef at the bottom of a trim bin, throw it in a 25 micron bag and press that. The best, especially when you're trimming multiple strains. That stuff is very good. But then I met Exorcist, and he taught me the -80 process for extraction, and now I'm back to BHO as far as like the best of the best. But I don't know what else did I cover. Did I cover all topics? I know there was maybe something else that we were wanting to say. Talk about.
Oh no, man, you're doing good. You're doing good, bro. So, do you think that working the extraction side of things has basically enriched or made you critique the plants you're growing a little bit, made you give you a little bit more appreciation to what can come out of the plant?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The truth is in the extraction, bro. The truly is. My method is damn near the same every time. That's the constant. What comes out is what's different. And it's almost all now. Another cool thing is like I said, so I bounce around, right? And I see the strains grow in a bunch of different gardens, and they're grown differently, even with the same stuff. They're still grown differently. But if you let me extract them, that extraction is going to pull out the essence. You know what I mean? So I'll tell you what that is from the extraction. That's another cool thing about it. Yeah. Yeah, we've done a lot of them. I thought there was something else we wanted to talk about that on that topic. I was going and I lost it. I'm getting tired.
Basically, I was asking you if the extraction has made you have more of an appreciation.
Yes.
In the campus plant.
Yes, because it's like I said, my process is damn near the same. So when it comes out and it's not good, you know what I mean? That has to do from the way the flower. Yes, and I'll always say it. People are like, "Well, why is this wax suck?" I'm like, because the material that I ran it with sucked. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now, so true is what you're saying, that it's like now they've figured out ways to turn garbage into good by using remediation powders and by using a bunch of different things, and that sucks because it's tainted. You know what I mean? Like, I don't trust it. So it was always, you had to have really good material to get really good wax. The color and the quality comes from the material. And so, yes, absolutely. I could tell how good of a grower you are by the way your fucking wax comes out. Hell yeah.
So, as a grower extractor, what do you like to see from the cultivars that you're growing? You know what I mean? Is it the more sandier trichomes? Is it the more sticky, greasy buds? What is it that you're kind of looking? What is the ideal flower look like?
So that's a really good question, and I can't give you an answer for grease compared to not grease, if one or the other one is better. I will tell you that I love terpene profile, because I know, so it's not so much even the way that it smells on the plant, it's the way it smells before I run it. So it's like you said, like they'll change. A lot of times they'll change, or like even I deal with, in that case, we're dealing with a lot of close hand trim, which people think is not that good, but you get the best extraction from a very good close hand trim, because it's all your trichomes and crystals and hairs mostly anyway, right? So when you blast that, you're getting a better expression. But fuck, I'm losing it. Yeah. You can tell the quality from from the plant, man. I totally can.
So, how do you feel, I guess, about mixing terps? Basically,
Oh, there you go. That's
after
what you said. That's what you
extraction.
said. Yeah. So you were saying, what do I look for, right? So I'm always hunting the terp profile. So that's why that's one of the main reasons why I love the fritter so much is because it's so definitive. There's no doubting that that's the fritter. It's so gas in such a definitive man. It's like, and it like it's something that you're hunting essence, really. You're hunting the essence when you're extracting. And you had mentioned hunting pine. I'm gonna see if I don't have it, but my buddy's got it. You tried Durban? You tried a Durban poison?
Oh yeah. Oh fuck yeah.
And what do you think? That's not pine for you?
Oh yeah, yeah. I can taste pine. You know what I mean? It's
Okay.
not that I'm like blind to it. I absolutely know pine and have had
You
good
just can't grow
pine.
it.
That's what it well, that was the fucking fuck of it here. And I think that's completely
Because I
it. I
got this,
think
man, I got this Durban poison from a friend in Oregon who's on a very, very good farm in Oregon. And he sent me this Durban, and it's so vigorous and it's such a yielder and such a beast, but I can't stand pine. I can't stand
oh
it.
really?
I'm serious.
Even
I
wow.
train wreck, right? So like you like train wreck?
Yeah.
Train wreck's pine, right? That's what you're after. That pine. When I smell that, it just like it's like it makes me not. It's like I don't even want to smoke weed. I'm not joking, and I don't. So many people love it. I just don't get it. I don't know why I don't like it. Even I don't. I think I don't know. I can't explain it, but it just like it's the exact opposite. I don't know. I like every other terp I love, but for some reason the pine. I don't know. So let me try to think about it psychologically, right? I think if I'm going to think about it, right, like deeply, I think when we had the dispensary, there was a lot of people selling us train wreck and calling it other stuff. And so I was constantly getting that train wreck pine nose, and we were supposed to have a bunch of different stuff, and it all smelled like train wreck. And maybe that's why I'm like, goddamn train, like it's all there, that pine nose. I think maybe that's like in the back of my mind or something. I don't have a reason for hating pine, but it's like I don't want it anywhere near me. I don't want to grow it.
So
But
was it, I'm guessing then it was like an acquired build up to it, maybe? Or was it always fuck pine?
no, I don't. That's what I'm trying to figure out. I just remember being in the dispensary, like when the smell is like the best connection to memory or whatever, right? So you smell something and bang, it brings you back. That's what's so awesome about it. And I smell pine and I think back to being tricked at the dispensary into buying more train wreck. I think that's what it is.
Might be just your body just triggers like that. I know a lot of the strains that beta carotene, hopefully I said that right, is a good terpene for anxiety, basically. And
They're
all the
fine.
strains that I have that are like super peppery like that have been great for a lot of my patients that have anxiety. But for me, I smoke that shit and I have fucking anxiety. It's quite the opposite for me. I think that maybe just be the opposite with you for you and pine. I think,
Yep.
just
Yep.
takes you until
Yep.
that. Cinnamon's another one. Uh, Christmas time, the fucking pine cones, man. It's so be soothing, man.
Okay.
It
Okay.
gives me an
So I
anxiety
love
just walking by the fucking things.
okay, see? So look at so maybe okay, look at there's something to be said about this too. I bet you. I bet you like we're talking about custom air recipes. I bet you that there's like flavor profiles that are similar because you just said you hate the cinnamon profile, right? Don't love that. That Christmas, see, I love that. Give me that smell.
See, we're on opposite ends of the spectrum there.
The
You know
taste
what I mean?
spectrum. Yeah, do you see? Yeah, because the Gary's like that. The Gary smells like fucking Christmas.
Another good example for me is, and it's kind of funny because you asked about it earlier. is purple cannabis. A lot of people love that purple cannabis. For me, it tastes good, but necessarily not my favorite. And even more so, if I get a green phenol of a purple weed, that gives me anxiety. So I can enjoy the purple a little bit, but if I get a green phenol of a purple cultivar, that shit leaves me pacing as well.
You want me to listen? Now listen, I think you're opening my eyes to something here, okay? Because I grow purple because that's what people like. It's not about me. I grow it because it's popular and because it's a good strain, okay? Now, I noted, like you talk about extraction, I get paranoid when I make the purple punch wax. The purple punch wax, it's the only one that makes me extremely paranoid. And so like maybe you're onto something with that, because like I was trying to figure out why, you know, maybe it's the purples at a concentrated level that are making me paranoid. Because but it's like all I've had for like a year and a half, really. You know what I mean? So, but see, my apple fritter doesn't do that. And it's not really that purple, but it's a little purple.
Yeah. It'd just be a sweet mix of that purple terpenes coming off.
You had talked about you had talked about something that I think is so cool that and we were talking so that we talked about the memory of the pine back to me, and it brings up this thing that I love to talk about, that marijuana actually helps to fix, and I got it from this podcast called Catching Fire. You ever is it Catching Fire or
Shaping Fire with Shane Loaf?
Yes. And there's the most intelligent people on that show, bro. Oh my God. Did you hear the one? So she's talking about the cannabinoid system and how cannabis stops inflammation on a microscopic level, on a cellular level, but also like in life, it stops inflammation. And inflammation is the body's number one defense mechanism for any kind of stress. So when we get stressed, then we inflame, and cannabis stops inflammation, right? So more specifically, pathways for pain, right? So what made me trigger it was the thing about like, so when I smell pine, then I think about, you know, stupid dispensary, right? So pathway, right? There's a pain pathway. And so like if you break your arm and then your arm heals, sometimes you still get like phantom pain, or like you feel pain in a place where you shouldn't feel pain because it's healed. And so what has happened, they say, is there's a neural pathway from your brain to that pain that essentially like a field, and the pathway has been worn down, right? It's been worn down. So it's really easy for your brain to find that pathway and bang, feel some pain. Marijuana helps to fucking heal that. Right? I mean, it's not a cure-all, but it fixes the problems that we have on a molecular level on everything. So.
Oh man, it does. It's a miracle plant on so many levels. The Shaping Fire podcast was one of the first ones I really became to learn to love this type of format. Basically, he has the long form, one-on-one, kind of just lets the guests kind of, you know, speak their point from start to finish without necessarily being interrupted. And so this show kind of, I honestly echoes a lot what he does.
Very cool.
I mean, I got a lot of respect for that dude.
Yeah, and that's another one where he's like he pushes to change the narrative about marijuana in general, right? Like the people that he has on his show are fucking genius motherfuckers. You know what I mean? Like it's very cool that people like that are also interested in cannabis, because it changes the way it forces the world. You don't have a choice at this point. You have to listen to them. They're the smartest people in the world, and they're telling you cannabis is the right answer. You know what I mean? So like, thank God for those people. And then also their ability to teach, because like like I don't understand this shit, but when they say it to me, I do. And I can repeat it back to you in a way that's like, you know, that maybe you could understand. And it's so, that's so cool. It's so cool that they have that comes from a genuine understanding of what you're talking about, right? So when you genuinely understand it, then you can speak to me in a way that I get it. And that's it's cool that there's people out there like that can do that, man. Damn, is that cool?
Like you said, it's kind of cool that he's sourcing people that aren't necessarily cannabis related, and I think it excites them too just as well, because even though they're not a necessarily cannabis user or grower, but it's always nice to see how your knowledge can relate to other things, that you know what I mean, that kind of
Absolutely.
ignites a fire all in itself.
Absolutely. And I'll say that over and over again, right? When I became a grower, I became, you know, I learned how to become a lightweight electrician and an HVAC guy, you know, and a little bit of a biologist, you know what I mean? And all these things. So, and the passion drives me. Do you see? So I can talk with a botanist all fucking day. Swear to God, I could. I can talk with a freaking HVAC guy all day. No bullshit. Like I find myself going into buildings and just and literally like getting super excited about their pump. Like no one's looking at the fucking pump in the corner, and I'm like, oh damn, I bet you that thing. You know what I mean? Or I'm looking up at their air handler, right? So the air handler is a crucial part of an air conditioning unit that I didn't know anything about, right? And now I'm like super excited about air handlers, you know, and it's my passion of marijuana that drives me. And that was another thing, right? So like I would never give a shit about thermodynamics ever. Couldn't pay me to know about it. But when you combine it with the fact that at the end I get to smoke this premium hash, you know, it sticks to my brain like you wouldn't believe. And I love learning about shit that my brain wants to know because like I said, I'll just do it for hours. I mean, how long have we been talking? You know what I mean? We, this is I love it.
Again, that's the power of the cultivation side. I see that repeatedly. It constantly bringing out a better person uh, across the board. There's something about you. You build a relationship with that plant. And I say a lot of times, man, it actually fucking heal, or you're growing with your plant. There's just something about it. There's a transformation,
I
definitely.
want it to be perfect. I want that plant to have a perfect life, and it's like it gives that back to you. You know, and that's fucking. Eh, it's human. It's true. I believe that's probably true human nature, right? Is to nurture, to be confident in nurturing, to like to feel self completion, right? To feel complete is to nurture anything, and it's so cool when you get deep into it. You know, you really get deep into it, man. Like I said, I could talk to a guy about worms. We could just talk about worms. Oh, whoever thought in a million years that I would be thinking about the reproduction rate of worms, and that would be the coolest thing in the world.
Right out, right out. And again, kind of touching back to what we talked about early on about what they knew back in the 70s. You know what I mean? What a great thing if you could set somebody's mind on different paths for good. You know what I mean? Instead of medication and shit, let their take their mind off into different subjects where you know what I mean. You've lost yourself to your problems, to what fire you're wanting to learn and everything else. And cannabis is like you said, worms, breeding, thermodynamics, fucking, there's a lot this plant can offer you. And for me, man, it's a deep turn. when you get into the organic side of things, man, when you really start wanting to understand how the engine is working down there. I mean,
The food web.
so I went most of my career in cocoa. You know what I mean? Salts and stuff like that. You know, there's the basics, but when you want to dive deeper into wanting to know how everything is really working in the natural scale, that's where the organic side of things come in. And that's the fucking deep hole, man. That's where I think it actually kind of gets soul building, to be honest with you. You get more really spiritual when you start to open up the organic side of things and how I think when you open that organic side of thing, it kind of makes you feel, it puts you in your place on the grander scale of things. You know what I mean? How you should relate to the plants, the plants relate to you, how microbes relate to you in the soil. You know, there's a lot to be, it's a never ending. So cannabis has so many avenues to keep your mind popping. Why wouldn't you? You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's no field that you could be interested in that couldn't tie into it. You know what I mean? And that's finding your niche inside of it is very cool. And yeah, I was on a farm, one of my first farms, in Reading, and I smoked some DMT. And I remember I was trimming at the time, and I smoked the DMT, and I couldn't trim anymore after that day. I felt like I couldn't, like for the whole rest of the day, I couldn't trim because I felt like I was hurting the plant. You know what I mean? Like I felt the life all around me. Like I could feel the breathing. The plants were breathing outside. Like I could feel them, and you feel that life. You do feel that life. And you know, so I watch a lot of the Future Cannabis Project stuff, and so they talk a lot about the organic, right? And they talk about, dude, well, how about giant fucking redwood trees or any group of trees in a forest communicate to each other through the microbes and through the small stuff. And if one tree needs something, the other tree will freaking give it to it through the microbe. There's like an underground highway of communication. So like if you get real stoned and like drive down the road and look and think about the fact that like all the trees are fucking talking to each other on a highway of roots and like microbe interchange. Dude, I'm sorry. That's fucking insane. It's so cool. It's so cool to even like, man, it's too much. And you're 100% correct. I would compare it like when I was younger, I was really into extreme sports and stuff, right? So I started rollerblading, and I got real good at rollerblading. You know, rollerblading was a very, very good, fun, extreme sport. But then it's like you learn every trick, and it's just rollerblading. It's not. I mean, I can do backflips and stuff, and we're done. You know, and then you learn skateboarding, and you could skateboard your whole life and not master that one. You know what I mean? Like they're two completely different things. I mean, you know, so I think that's a good comparison. I mean, and I'll be honest, that's why I haven't delved in. I want to know the plant better, you know, from my direct inputs. And when I can do that, then we'll get into the fact that like, you know, if I don't have a good top layer of companion crop, then potentially my lights could flash my entire live soil and kill the whole pot. Like, and I wouldn't know that happened. You know what I mean? It scares me.
There's definitely a lot of cool shit going on in the soil there. I believe that it's in Oregon where I know they've kind of charted out a single fungus, kind of like you're talking about with the sequoias there. It's a 30 mile by 30 mile hunk that they've all identified for it to be one continuous body. You know what I mean? It's one. You know what I mean? It's relating with each other. It's all one. And that shit's fucking really cool, man.
We gotta tap into that.
I think we are at some point. with the mycology. We're learning a lot about probiotics and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
it's exciting.
Mushrooms in general, microdosing, just not and not just microdosing, mushrooms in general. You know
Right.
what I mean? There's a lot to be offered there. Uh, it,
Well, would it
there's a
be
lot.
would it be so forefront? Would science and people even care about the advancements, you know what I mean, in finding out about the soil food web if marijuana wasn't attached? I think it's a catalyst in itself. Like, you know what I mean? Like, definitely I wouldn't care, but it makes in a way it makes science sexy. And we've needed that for a long time.
Right. You know, I think that's what I'm saying too, again, about the organics thing and making you feel so small. You know, when you learn about these fungus and then you think about, your place in the grander scheme of things, it's
Yeah.
like, wow, I feel pretty small
It
in the
definitely
nature process now. And
it's
then you
definitely
realize a lot of that shit's actually in your gut. And and there's a lot of correlation to the whole second mind, your gut feeling. There's a lot to be said about that, gut feeling. It's an intelligent process that's going on that
that's
correlates directly with your brain.
that's one thing. That's one thing that will mess with me as well, right? So my little brother is he's getting his master's degree in biblical philosophy. Okay, so there's a lot of philosophy and thinking. He's very, very smart. So we talk about, he talks to me and he tries to explain like consciousness, right? We don't know, with everything that we know about the human body and science related, and we can look, we don't understand where consciousness itself comes from, right? So where in our body is consciousness? And so he talks about the awareness of consciousness as so when you're like when you're driving down the road and you're driving and your peripheral vision sees a stop sign, right? And you know it's red. You didn't even really see that it was red, but it's like your consciousness perceived it as red because you've seen a stop sign before. And in this world, as you're passing here, you perceive the stop sign as red. You see? So that's like your conscious being perceiving. And he tries to explain it to me, and we get it, we talk a little bit about it, but it's like, yeah, man, it makes you feel it makes you feel so small to think about the grander scheme of all of that. And man, the fact that I even think about it, right? I wouldn't even be thinking about these things. I feel like just the fact that we think about it is opening, mind opening. I mean, why do I care to think about it?
Man, that's kind of a great question there. I think consciousness is something that we're all connected to. To be honest with you, I think it's somewhat perception, but we're noticing from another dimension or space. You know what I mean? Not necessarily, outside yourself. I'll say, okay. And I think a lot of times why I say consciousness is more of a frequency thing. I think it's like an Akashic record, if you ever looked into that all knowing record. And I think once it's only available, some people are naturally tuned into it. Some people can tune into it through psychedelics, DMT,
Yes.
mushrooms like that. And I've kind of talked about, because I frequent with the psychedelics a little bit. Now, honestly, that DMT, the way I look at people, I haven't done it myself. I'd love to. DMT, some ayahuasca, to actually see a little further in.
Yes.
And I think that there is something that like that, you know, we are preset like a radio station. And at one point, you know, with a little bit of aid, you let your mind kind of change stations or be more open to new frequencies, basically.
Yeah.
And
It's that
I
muscle.
think
It's that
that
same muscle.
so I think that's got a good thing, a good portion to do with what consciousness is. I think it's a oneness, basically, you know, that we're all kind of feeding our perception is feeding the grander scale of what's going on in the record, basically, which scares me because uh I talked earlier about like the hack of the manifestation type thing, you know. And then we talk about kind of the Akashic record and all of us being kind of like a borehole that feeds the greater, you know, the greater book, the greater scheme of things. But man, the whole digital age scares the fuck out of me, to be honest with you. I think, you know, as we talk about feeding, you know, perception and feeding the Akashic record, I think we're kind of doing that these days uh, with our everyday life, man. It's becoming more and more data, 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 data. You know what I mean? And I think a little bit of that is realizing that it is data and you have a little bit of hand in it. You know what I mean? You've realized the hack a little bit. You can change the algorithm a little bit. You know, I think it's
Absolutely.
weird.
Absolutely. That's powerful. And so um um definitely seeing, you know, your reality from a different spectrum allows you to open your mind to the possibility of other things that, you know, I've taken, so I've smoked DMT and I was a fan. So I'm under the, so when you take DMT, it's a rush from you're in control to complete out of control and a deep trip very quickly. And with that, for me, was coming a lot of anxiety. So I would use nitrous oxide, laughing gas. Um, it, it there's usually nitrous at a party, right? So we would have it around. But I found that by mixing the two, I was able to transition into my DMT trips a lot smoother without the banging rush and like panic a little bit that comes with like a hard hit. So I've been outside. I've looked down at my slumped over body from above it, like from above on DMT, just really out of my mind, messed up. And it, that with, and also like I've done um like I get, they call it like shaman doses of mushrooms, right? So like 14 grams over and over like a 3 hour period, like 14 grams with real deep trips. And um like you said, like you it's a muscle that flexes, and you can build that and have more like confidence in it as a reality when it's, you know, when you leave it, I guess. And it changes your world. It definitely changes your world forever, your perception of the world. And I think it allows you to play into that consciousness more powerfully if you believe in it, obviously, right? In a way. So, you know, that's why I really want, I've been putting it off. I don't know why for a while, but I want to do the micro dosing because I think that that's another one that's it's gonna allow you to you know, to do the things that you want in a lot of ways.
So I'm kind of curious. Again, it's more similarities here. Uh, I can't help but wonder, did the manifestation kind of angle, you know, in your life kind of unlock? You seem like you've been a creative person your whole life, but do you think that the manifestation or you knowing the power or seeing the angle of it kind of correlates to after the DMT experience, the psychedelic experiences?
I would say the DMT and LSD. I think both of those like pretty much proved to be like groundbreaking, right? As far as stepping outside of your mind. Um LSD was first for me before DMT. So I remember LSD changing my perspective on life in a way that, because I always felt kind of different, I'm left-handed. I got pretty bad ADHD, and I have a hard time controlling like the the volume of my voice in a lot of ways. Like I scream, I yell. I'm very avid. I've been charged with the DUI twice, stone sober. I have 2 DUI charges because the cops were convinced I was impaired because I talk so fast and rapidly and loud when I'm talking, or I get excited or something happens. So um uh LSD, I know microdosing LSD would be a good thing for me. The first time I tripped, I took LSD like 5 or 6 times before I ever tripped. And so then the first time I ever took it, and we're like, all right, it didn't work, let's go home. So I go home, and then I start tripping by myself in my bedroom, like real. And I had taken shrooms before, but this is different. So I'm shrooming really bad, and I'm in high school, and it's like 8 in the morning. I'm in my basement. I'm in my bedroom, and I'm wondering my no one's come down to get me to go to school yet. I'm like, whatever, it's fine. We'll just stay. So it's 9. And so then 9 o'clock comes down, and my mom comes down and goes, time to go, walk over. You got to go to the dentist. So I could walk to my dentist. My dentist was walking distance away. So I walked over to the dentist, and I didn't know that day I had a root canal. So I got a root canal on the front one of my teeth for like 2.5 hours, tripping balls for the first time ever on LSD. No bullshit, sit in the chair. And it was the greatest root canal ever. I don't even remember being at the dentist. I was sitting in the chair, and all I remember was seeing the walls were bone white, and then vines were creeping in, and then the whole place would turn into a jungle. And then as soon as it was like a truly deep jungle, it would disappear, and I was back in the White Office. And that just happened over and over and over again the entire time I was in the chair. And then I walked home, and I got in my Honda Civic, and I drove to my buddy's house, and all 6 of my buddies that we had tripped together were all sitting in a room laughing. And I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? And everyone was tripping. And I was like, nobody even invited me. I'm at home getting my fucking root canal done. And all my buddies are at their buddy's house tripping balls. So yeah, that was the first time I ever tripped. That happened.
Oh shit. That's a trip all in itself. I don't know if I would have been ready for all that shit the first time around.
I'm telling you, it was insane. So okay, so then I feel like after that, so I always kind of felt a little different. I felt like maybe an outcast, but like I never wanted, my girl hates this, but I never wanted to be a sheep, right? She hates when I say that. And it's kind of, maybe it's stupid, but I just didn't want to be someone blindly following society and living in fear that something bad was going to happen or whatever, and this is terrible. I don't know. This is terrible. I don't even know if we should talk about it, but I do like that. It's something that happened. Okay. So we're not living like this anymore. This was before. Okay. So I feel like if you talk about it in hindsight, it's okay. But at the time, I will go in and I will go to Walmart to get my packing material. Right. And I would look at the lady behind the counter, and I would say, so this is how I would weigh it out. Right. I would say, okay, now you're going to work 8 hours a day for 40 hours a day, 40 hours a week. And like Christmas, you're going to have to work and whatever. You have to work an entire year and be away from everyone in your life and your family and everything. And if I put these 2 boxes right here in the mail and send them out, that's your whole year salary there, done, paid. So it's like, I could get in trouble and I might do 2 or 3 years, but if I can live the whole rest of my life financially free and I had to pay for that with a little bit of time, who really won? And I don't know, that's a little drastic, and we don't live like that anymore. But at the time, it was a way for me to justify the way that we were living. But it's, marijuana allowed us the freedom that we wanted to pursue the things that we wanted to do, I guess. I don't know.
Well, that's the dream that we're all kind of looking for. You know what I mean? For me, I'm a carpenter as well, man. And I wanted that more freedom in life as well. I had owned my own business. You know what I mean? I was doing things my own way, eh, as it were, but I wasn't living the quality of life that I wanted to live. And I
Yes.
knew if I had sustained the career I was going, if I didn't step out at that time, I was looking at a life full of pain from
Yes.
the prior career. And I did not want to be crippled from a lifetime of construction. And I don't think that's selfish in any kind of way. It is
Listen,
necessarily about quality of life. I
I
look
saw.
back today, brother, at fucking all those overtime fucking hours for the extra money to buy shit for my kids when I, in hindsight, I wish I had every hour of that overtime to been back home to
Yep.
be with the fucking kids, to be
Yep.
with you. There is in hindsight, there's nothing more valuable than those moments. You know what
That's
I mean?
exactly.
So for me, it total quality life. I completely understand what you're saying.
No, no, and you're so right, because I was a union carpenter, and this was another deciding factor. Is I was a union carpenter. I'm working downtown Chicago, and I saw the same thing in all the journeymen. Okay, so the first fact was, they say your average lifespan after you journey out, you put your 30 years in. After you do, they say your average is like 4 to 6 years, and then you're dead, because your body's been working its whole life, and now it dies. The other thing that always happens is these guys are working, and every one of them is divorced, paying for a house that their wife lives in, and they got to pay they live in a condo supporting it, because this is how it works. You work 8 hours, you come home, you're so tired, you eat dinner, you go to bed. Then you wake up and you do it again. You're a slave to the job to support your family. And God knows that's how every man in America is. And that's the way it is. But I saw a freedom, I saw an angle on it. Now, listen, I still remodel my house, I work my ass off, but I'm teaching my kid how to use a hammer. He's right here with me. I mean, we're going to work all day together. It's going to be awesome. You know what I mean? And quality of life. That is what marijuana has brought me. And God, I'm so thankful for that. I'm so thankful for that, because I was doing the same thing. I was a slave. And and here's the thing, right? I think you could be free even if you're just growing, even if it's not a means for financial, just having the plant. What I see is potential. There's potential there. And it's like it gives me hope. Even if it's just one tent with 5 plants, I still got hope from it. Potential.
Right. And you know, even as a medicine, as far as cannabis is concerned, you know, cancer patients that we treat and other people, this is the way I kind of see that as well. Even if the medicine is maybe too late or whatever, that fate has stepped in, brought cannabis into life or whatever, if you can offer that person a better quality of life why they're here, even though it may not be that healing factor. Again, isn't that what it's all about? You know, buying some happy time while you're here with your family, worry free without the pain and shit. I mean, that's the most important thing,
That's
I
it.
think. Yeah.
That's it. Time. Yeah. Yeah, that's really powerful. And you're you're a little bit ahead of me on one thing. So I have this dream, and this is gonna be another one that I'm gonna live in. I talk about it a little bit, but I think about it all the time, and I know it's going to happen, right? So I'm an old man or whatever. I'm a grandfather, and I'm on a porch, and and I'm talking with my grandkid, and my grandkid says, "Grandpa, how do we have this house? What did you do?" And I say, "When I was your age, marijuana was illegal, and I was a bootlegger, you know, and you know, so now you have the weed strain that you have now because grandpa grew it, you know, and learned how to do it. And it, you know what I mean? It'll be a different time. And I know marijuana will be legal. And it's so cool to think about like trying to carry that legacy, you know, and to be proud of it. And it's cool. It's very special to me. Very special.
Oh man, it is too, man. This last couple years, I mean, sadly brought on by a pandemic, kind of. You know what I mean? Cannabis, we did kind of come full circle with it all being, uh, helping with this, helping with everything, being deemed necessary, or all that good shit.
Right.
It's been it's nice coming full circle and not having to bow your head to say you're a user, grower, or whatever. It's nice to be able to finally be able to raise our heads to this. And I'm can't wait, man. I'm hoping this is becoming a multi-generational tree for a lot of people. I can't, I won't ever see it, but I hope my grandkids do drive by that 100-year fucking cannabis farm. You know what I mean? The one you see nowadays, but it would be nice to see 100-year sustainable cannabis farm, hemp farm, whatever.
That's cool. That's cool.
Cool. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I think I'm gonna have to call it. That's it. 1:30.
Yeah, brother, no problem, man. I'm grateful for any of the time we get, as we talked about, man. It's the most valuable thing we have, man. And brother, I'm grateful for what you've given me tonight.
Absolutely.
And so as far as the rundown of things go, this is the way things work around here, brother. The spotlight is kind of the first phase of the channel here. The Zoom link that I sent you tonight is the very same Zoom link that will let you into what we call Weed Nerd World. And that Weed Nerd World is only open to past guests. So anytime that you see Weed Nerd World, if you're sub to the channel, anytime Monday and Wednesday nights are pretty much mandatory Weed Nerd Worlds anymore. So you can count on, if you want to come hang out, talk some cannabis or whatever, just hang out with a bunch of, cool cannabis folks in the community, feel free. There's no invitation needed there, man. Now it's, I want to be a part of the community type thing. So anytime you want to come hang out, man, we love new faces, new perspectives, as we talked about on topics, conversations. So, keep that open, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, please do. I've enjoyed our conversation. I think it'd be a good addition to the Weed Nerd World.
I would love.
So hopefully you do.
Absolutely.
And that's how things. So the other things how you can find the Weed Nerd World, because I told you 11:30 to 4:20 every night. So this is how the other channel works. So basically, I will shut down your episode, so we don't do anything in Weed Nerd World that would get your episode in trouble and take it down. We want this to stay for as long as possible. So I shut down this episode, and then I fire up the Weed Nerd World, and Weed Nerd World will take us to the 4:20 mark. So there's a possibility of a Weed Nerd World any night. But like I said, you can count on them Monday and Wednesdays for sure.
For sure.
So with that being said, man, you'll always be welcome. I'm glad we met tonight. We relate on quite a few things, to be honest with you. The one last thing I'd like to get from you before you go is what I call the sound bite. Basically, like, it's an old school radio identification type thing. My version of the soundbite would go, "Hey, I'm Eagle, and I'm on fucking Talking Shit with Eagle, episode 578. You can say whatever the fuck you want before that. You can say whatever the fuck you want after that. As long as it's kind of got that in there, I will be more than grateful, my friend. I am ready now."
Hey, what's going on? This is Mr12n12. Make sure you check out this episode. Fucking Talking Shit with Eagle. This is episode 578, and it's a damn good one. So check it out and listen up. all you weed nerds. Thanks, guys.
Right on. It's been a good episode too, man. Thank you so much. You want to give anybody a shout out? Anybody and a little nod before you go?
I mean, DP, man. DP's got me a long way. So shout out to Ep578, man. He showed me into the way, into the community. He's been very, very generous, and I've met a lot of cool people, including you, because of him. So shout out to DP and everybody else that's supported me, man. I really appreciate it, and I'm just gonna keep going, man. So look forward to it, and have me on in a year. We'll tour the facility.
We'll do a one-on-one again in a year, for sure. But don't be a stranger, Mr. 12 and 12.
No. I'll be
You
back
do
before
have the key to the weed nerd world.
Yeah, no, I'll be back before then, for sure.
And be sure to, another thing I like to do is I sneakily acquire birthdays. And I got yours now. So look for your birthday shout out on the 28th, brother.
For sure.
I got your number, dude. I got your number. So
Cool.
I'll have your happy birthday for you, brother. Thank you
Awesome.
again for your time tonight. It has been a lot of fun, bro.
Oh yeah, thank you for having me on. It was very cool.
All right. For the rest of you guys, thank you for tuning in. If you're not going to tune into the Weed Nerd World, then thank you very much for hanging out. Don't forget to do something nice for somebody. Random acts of kindness do save lives. I am a believer in it, and it's helped me out so many times.
Absolutely.
With that being said, we are out of here. Have a good night. Thank you one last time, Mr. 12 and 12. See you soon.